Boom. Okay. All right, done. Hey, Brian, Jareth, BBS, what up? Welcome, welcome. I'm gonna start the game now. But realistically, today, like I said, it's a bit of a different kind of stream. I don't really have a specific objective. Rather, right now, in its current state, Darktide's player base has actually fallen to such an extent that I want to know. Now, I don't know. I think most of the people that tune in would be people still playing the game. But I'm actually just curious for people that, maybe if we can get some answers from people that aren't playing the game right now. I want to know why they've decided to stop or slow down on Darktide. I know some of my own people have had that situation happen. I, of course, have my own reasons. For me, it's mostly revenue-related reasons, but also, obviously, there is that element and factor of boredom coming in because we haven't really had an update yet. But I've also got another video coming like later-ish tonight where I'll ask the same question because not everybody will tune into a stream for sure. But I really do want to know, from as many people as I can find out from, what are their thoughts on this matter. Oh yeah? Well, thanks for that input, Moist. Actually, that is exactly the kind of thing that I wanted to hear because as you guys look, Shield Ogren, I don't play Ogren usually. The only Ogren build that I have is the Bully Club Ogren. So I hope you can understand, my dude. I don't play Ogren normally. I only have one Ogren build, and that's made by my friends because I don't actually do Ogren builds. Give me a moment. Okay, we're set here. But yes, coming back to the main points in the chat, Moist said that your friends stop playing and it's boring playing with randoms. I can completely understand that. Like I said, I was about to give some background as well as to why I'm asking this. For those of you that do not yet know or may not have heard, I have other game partnerships coming up. One of those is Last Epoch. I almost said Lost Epoch. Last Epoch. That is actually coming out this month. So I'll be hopping on board there to start making a lot of content because it's a Diablo-like ARPG game, so it's going to require a significant time investment. Of course, if there's an update for Darktide, I'll still be doing Darktide stuff, and you can always count on me for the Darktide stuff, but it's, it'll depend on how much is the player count for Darktide, how much focus I'm going to be putting on it. So I guess I really want to find out from the players themselves, maybe we can have a little bit of a chat, a little bit of a conversation. And, maybe we'll do some games later, but we'll see. Like, the idea is that I want to know from the players, what's stopping, what's making people leave. Because Darktide has had this before. Now, in the past, we've had people leave the game to the point that the player count was this low. That was last year, though, and back then, two factors stood out. One factor of which hasn't been solved yet, which is the crafting system. The other factor was that the skill trees back then, or rather the feats, and the so-called builds were so boring because you only had 6 choices that it was hard to even come up with anything. So it was really weird there. Now, Jared says the problem is it's a snowball. You struggle to play by yourself now. Basically, come on and play when I or one of your IRL friends are playing. Yeah, fair enough. I've been feeling that a lot in the Australia region. It's been hard to get Maelstrom games, and I think that that's also, like, it is a bit of a snowball effect because players just stop playing because they can't get games, And Borescope, that is pretty sad, It's always a problem when people stop. Mr. Japanese name dude, I'm so sorry. I don't know what to call you because I can't pronounce your name in Japanese. I think there won't be a lot of people playing Darktide in Japan. This game is not really very popular in Asia. If we look on Steam right now, the current player count on Steam is, I believe, it's only about 4,200 people are playing on Steam right now. Probably about half that number on Xbox. So getting games in certain regions may be very difficult, especially if you're in the Japanese region, Asia region, Australia region. In fact, the games are so tough to get that if you want to play some of the hardest difficulty content, you are kind of stuck going to like the NA region or the EU region, which is why they had to implement this option in the first place, because back then, months ago, last year in fact, around June-ish last year was when the player count was this low. And I remember because I'd hopped over to Diablo 4 to start creating content there, and I was working on that, and I was still in touch with Darktide people and, you know, keeping an eye on the Steam charts and everything, and the player count was abysmal. It soared after the Xbox release and the update, and of course this is stuff that you'll see in my video later. We'll actually go through the numbers a little bit, but and it was great business for about 3 months. Honestly, I made good money on Darktide from October, November, December. It was a very good run, and you know, I even managed to put some savings away. So yeah, it is a tough situation because I wasn't expecting the fall off to be this hard. I thought I at least had the full month of January, but come like early Jan, we already saw a lot of fall off, and then by mid-Jan, it was like, you know, as it is right now. I've cut back on the streams now. The only reason I'm even still streaming Darktide is because I don't have anything else to stream for the immediate period, but one of my viewers has sponsored Helldivers 2 for me, so I'm going to be taking a look at that starting tomorrow. And Last Epoch comes out on the 21st of February, so I'll be concentrating on that. So in a way, I'm happy to have more projects on so I can offload Darktide a little bit, because right now Darktide is a bit tough. I am actually going to be trying Helldivers 2, yes. Yes, I'll be playing it tomorrow, in fact. Yeah, it just got really, like, the Twins event wasn't even big enough. Like, it was great for the initial period, but I think people overplayed it to the point that they all got sick of it, and everybody just wanted to do the Twins hard mode, and then everybody just sort of like burned out. So yeah, but yes, one of my viewers, Phil, actually sponsored Helldivers 2, so I'll definitely be checking it out tomorrow. So yeah. A single-player game that is extremely popular that you'd like to sponsor? What single-player game is this, BBS? Come. You tell me, and I'll hear you out on it, because it's got to be the type of game that I play, especially if it's single-player. But more variety is definitely good for a channel, and that's why I'm so glad that a new partnership opportunity came. Yakuza. Alright, alright. Yeah, I would be down to try that out, but it depends when. When did Yakuza come out? Because although I enjoy that type of game, and I'm sure you'd be happy to sponsor it, it depends on the release. Final Fantasy VII is definitely not the kind of, like, see, the thing about single-player games is that it's difficult to get viewership on those unless your channel is specialized in that. So yeah, FF7 is interesting, but also not my kind of genre usually, because my time window is short right now. So I'll see how Helldivers 2 goes, and if you still feel like sponsoring Yakuza, let me know when it came out. In fact, you can let me know right now, BVS. I don't mind being open with some parts of the discussion, as you know. X Defiant, I have not heard about that game, and I don't know what genre it is. So let's have a look-see right now. X Defiant, what is this? What is X Defiant? Free-to-play first-person shooter game. Not really. I don't think I'll be trying to get a partnership with this, unless the devs created a campaign for that, because I'm not really a FPS, like, I'm not really strong in FPS games. Usually for FPS games, as a creator, you have to be one of the best. And considering it's a PvP type game, it's going to be very difficult. These types of games are usually ruled by The content creators that get popular for this kind of stuff usually are top notch in their games, like they're high ranked players. I don't think a lot of people want to see like a bronze ranker like me going around, you know. What type of games do I want to play on stream? To be fair, I love co-op games, so Helldivers 2 is right up my alley. The newest game just came out for Yakuza. Yeah, BVS, give me some details. Like, when did the newest game just come out? Like, now? Did it just come out now? Because I have not heard anything in the news about a new Yakuza game dropping. That's why I'm so curious about it. Because I do like the Yakuza series. I haven't played since the first game, though. I only got a chance to play the first game this one time, so that was very interesting for me. But I haven't heard or followed that series since then. What is it called? What is the new Yakuza game called? In fact, I'm curious now to know. And but yes, coming back to what type of games do I stream? ARPG games are actually right up my alley as well, which is why I was so excited for Last Epoch. I was hopeful for Diablo 4, but Diablo 4 kind of fell off a cliff. January 26th. Like a Dragon, Infinite Wealth. I see. Yeah, no, I haven't heard anything about it. Most of the news has been dominated by Pal World, so I definitely haven't heard about it at all. As for Borescope, X-Define is going to be a COD killer. There's nothing... I mean, it could potentially be a COD killer, but here's the trouble with free-to-play. You see, you gain people as fast as you lose them. So, you know, if we were to talk about, let's say, the finals. Last month... or in fact, just the early half of January, 80,000 players. We're looking at about less than 20,000, like between 20,000 to about 35,000 right now, and it's free to play. So when you're looking at things like that, right? I don't know. I'll see how X-Defined goes, but also it's really not my genre because I don't think a lot of people are going to tune in to watch a bronze ranker like me. That's for sure. That's for sure. And yeah, Diablo 4, yeah, it was a shit show. But I gotta tell you, it's actually because of Diablo 4 that I got the opportunity with Last Epoch, I believe. So I'm very excited for that. Don't forget to like the stream, by the way, if you guys could. Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts and conversing with me today. I really appreciate it. Baldur's Gate probably not. I generally don't play the strategy type games like Rogue Trader because a lot of these games, right? Okay, so I don't mind doing it if it's sponsored, but here's the issue. And like, look, nothing against this, BVS. You know, I just want to be very transparent and honest with all of you guys. You saw how Rogue Trader's viewership went, right? The reason why people don't tune in to watch single player games is that in general with single player games they want to play it themselves, so they might watch like the first stream or like a couple of streams, but they usually don't watch a series of streams, and that can get a little bit rough. So for single player games it can be a bit difficult. So like if you really want to sponsor it, look, I'll do anything for cash. I am not in a position this month to be picky and choosy and say, oh, I'll take this job, I'll take that job. No. Listen, you give me a job, you pay me for it, I'll do it. No questions asked. But I just don't want to see you guys shell out the money and waste money for it, you know? I wouldn't join BattleBit. Really not my thing either. Space Marine 2 for sure. I think that's going to be really hyped. Honest to God, I'm banking on Last Epoch right now because I think that this thing is going to be... I'm praying that it's going to be the Diablo 4 killer that I think it is. Because if it's not going to do it, then Path of Exile 2 is definitely going to do it. You know? Absolutely on X-Define. The only issue is that although I love that kind of, you know, analysis when it comes to min-maxing weapons, stats, and builds, the problem with FPS games, especially competitive FPS games, right? Oh, hey EXO, congrats on being in my game. The thing with anything that has a competitive element is that rank matters. So although I would love to share my insights, I have to be able to back up those insights, Borscope, and that's going to be a big issue, you know. Yeah, sure, go ahead and do the donuts. I think being able to back up those things, because, like, for example, in the finals, I absolutely loved, like, before I stopped playing the finals, I loved the medium build with the mines and the turrets everywhere. It was helping my team to win, although my skills were bad and we were playing on the America region where I had 200 ping. It was working, you know? But if I publish a video on that, or if I try to suggest that, I don't have the rank to back it up. You know what I'm saying? That, I think, became an issue for me, and becomes an issue for me. Even back a couple of months ago, when I wanted to do Overwatch content, I tried to stream Overwatch, but because I was not ranked, and because my rank was not high, people were not interested in watching the stream, and you need that short-term... See, for me as a professional creator, you need the short-term income, and you gotta have the long-term income. So, for me, I am working on, like, the short-term income is, like, for example... if I'm working on a game where I'm popular, so kind of like Darktide, that's my short-term income. Long-term investments are things like Palworld. Now, Palworld, I may be shifting away from streaming that soon, mostly to make video content instead, because I think that'll be more worthwhile. Because Palworld, streaming it's going to be much more fun on the dedicated server rather than what we got going right now. Not that I don't love streaming my crew, I do absolutely love it, but you know, I gotta look at the overall perspective of that. You see. So that's what I'm thinking right now. Listen, Rena, I have all those suggestions are great. How much viewership can you get me? I'll happily join you on anything if I'm paid. Number one, I have to be paid. Number two, we got to look at viewership. I'll do anything that I'm paid to do. You know me. But what's the viewership going to be like? You can guarantee me one? Bro, you always guarantee me one. I love you for it. Alright? But I gotta feed my family. So, you know. Throne and Liberty. You know, I heard mention of that game. Let's have a look at what Throne and Liberty is. It's an upcoming MMORPG by NC Soft. Okay, GG. GG. No way. Are you very sure about this? A lot of these games look good, but I see NC Soft there. I'm like, bruh. NC Soft and Amazon at the same time. I don't know, bro. I don't know. Yeah, no. For me, Rena, I'm not too concerned. Like, I'm keen on Last Epoch. I think that's gonna be a good one. At the very least, until Path of Exile 2. Like BVS said, Path of Exile 2 is definitely going to kill Diablo. Nobody's going to pay for yearly expansions when you can just play Path of Exile 2 for free. Except for the hardcore Diablo fans who really, really want to love it. But so far, every season has been a disappointment. So, see you later, EXO. Of course, I'm always happy to deliver good videos. I've never played The Division. But I'm always willing to play games like that, Borscoped. If you're willing to drop a sponsorship on me, sure. Or if they have a creator program, sure. You know, I would happily play any of those kinds of games. You know, but I have to be either a recognized creator, meaning that I'm one of their official creators, or y'all have to sponsor it for me. Which again, I urge you, before you do a sponsorship, consider, like, I think, like, for BVS, honestly, because, look, BVS works very hard for his money. I'm not, that's why, like, even when I take you guys' money, although I will do anything for money, I'm also not the kind of guy that's going to be like, oh, yeah, you know what, just pay me for this, I'll do it. And then, like, not deliver expected results, because I don't want to see him shell out the cash when I know a stream is not going to be that good. Now, I don't know about Yakuza and how it's going to go, but at the end of the day, I'm an honest man, so I urge you to consider before sponsoring. This goes for anybody. You know, do think about it before sponsoring these types of games, because you have to see what it's going to be like and what the response is going to be like. Because at the end of the day, my pathway forward as a YouTuber, as a professional YouTuber, is always going to be a live service game. Single player games, Darktide, why is it my strongest game? Number one, I'm an official creator for this game, Mark. And also, I think that there aren't that many creators for Darktide that bring the same kind of methodical value to the table. I have a unique content creation style, which is actually why several devs have worked with me and are willing to work with me, which I really like. I really like bringing them that value as well. But the downside is that the developers themselves have to also understand the kind of product that they're trying to bring to the people and what kind of audience that they're cultivating over time. Darktide was my strongest game for 3 months. Between October, November, December last year, I made very good money. Very good money. My family was very well fed. Like I said, I even got savings from those months. As a content creator, Darktide was not only my first partnership, but last year, it was the greatest part of 2023 for me. Because 2023 was a struggle. And 2024 is not off to a great start, but at least I've still got Darktide, And Darktide will always have a place in my heart, and I'll always be here making content where I can. So I think that Darktide, will forever be there as an opportunity. But I also cannot subsist on Darktide alone, because what happens is that Darktide, to me, right now, is a bit of a roller coaster. You got an update, things go right up, I'm enjoying it for 3 months, and then the money all dries up, and then I gotta go looking around for something else. That's why I tried out Power World, I tried out the finals. I've been searching ever since this year started, because viewership went right off a cliff. And player count for this game, right off a cliff as well. Now look, as an official creator, I cannot start drama, nor can I participate in drama. So I hope you guys can understand. I'm not going to name names no matter how many people want me to name drop this person, this one person that is the sole reason almost 5,000 players have left Darktide. Many of you know who he is. I'm not going to name drop him. Many of you know who he is. Quite frankly, because Darktide does not, in my honest opinion, Darktide does not do enough separation. Sure, anybody can make content on YouTube. There's no such thing as, oh, you cannot make content because you're not an official creator. But Darktide should do more to promote the official creators and to promote sources of information that are much more credible. And Vermintide 2, absolutely not, Jareth. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Vermintide 2, total. Look, I've got nothing against Vermintide 2, but if I were to go and make Vermintide 2 content, total waste of time. Number one, the player base of Vermintide 2 is very consistent. It's the same 3,000 players that have been playing for the last 2 years. It's literally the exact same 3,000 players. They already have trusted content creators, and in fact, I actually like the Vermintide 2 content creators that are already established and have done the work there. I love what they do, and I feel that they've got the entire game covered. All right, JTC Live, several of the other lovely people that I've had the pleasure of working with as an official creator, I love them. Those guys are amazing. They play Vermintide 2, they make the content for Vermintide 2, I like them. I don't want to be going into their area because, number one, I don't have the history with it. I came in not as a Vermintide 2 creator, but as a Darktide creator. I came in to the game a lot later. Yes, I'm also official, but I came in later. I don't want to be treading on their space. And I feel that they have done fantastic jobs on this. Even if I were to go in, I'll just be rehashing. And Power World is not really a big game. In terms of my viewership for Power World, it's low, but Power World is a long-term investment. So remember earlier I mentioned that as a content creator, I do two things: short-term, long-term. Short-term, you gotta have something hot for you right now. That's why I'm banking on Last Epoch. It could fall flat, but honestly, it looks pretty good. It might be something to juggle in between. Oh, sure, Borescope, no problem. It might be something good to juggle in between Darktide. So honest to God, I'm hoping for it. And it looks good. To me, it looks good. It seems like it was made with a lot of passion, and the creators that I've talked to seem like they're very passionate folks as well. So even for me, I don't think I'm going to get a lot of viewership on that game because, it's going to be hard to break into this area because some of these creators have been supporting the game for a very long time. It's been in development since 2019. So they've got a lot of history with the game. I'm very lucky to be in this space with all of them. So we'll see how that goes. But honest to God, it's looking pretty good. That being said, Power World, like these are all short-term games that I want to juggle. Power World is definitely going to be a very long-term game, whereby we're going to be waiting for the dedicated servers, and while we wait for the dedicated servers, you know, I'm going to toss out these little videos here and there. Might take it away from stream so I can focus my stream time on other games that might make me more short-term income. So yeah. If money wasn't a thing, I would stream nothing but single-player story-based games all day, every day. If you ask me what I love the most, do you know where I've had the most fun? The most fun that I've had is BVS's Rogue Trader sponsorship, where I got a chance to read all these amazing voice lines and dialogue from all these characters. I love that. I would love nothing more than to sit here and play a lovely story-based game with you guys, do all the, you know, voices and stuff for you guys to entertain you, especially when the characters aren't voiced. You know, I can put my own unique take on them, and that's what I love. That's what like, if money wasn't a thing, or if I had a salary for that, I would do that all day, every day, man. I'm telling you, I would put a voice to every single character and just experience the entire storyline with you guys. Like, that is what I would love to do. But we all know that is a pipe dream, because at the end of the day, number one, people don't want to watch somebody playing a single player game. They want to play it themselves, especially when it's single player. They want to experience the storyline through their eyes, not through my eyes with my reactions in the background. Some people do like that, but not everybody. And other than that, I think it's also really important for the fact that when it comes to those single player experiences, people don't want to spoil it for themselves, you know, so they're even less likely to watch. Like I said, they might watch the first stream just because it's an opening, but they don't want to spoil the story for themselves. So subsequent streams, you know, end up getting less and less viewership, which I completely understand. For a person, you know, it's tough in that sense, because with single player games, they are such beautiful things, and I wish I had more time for them, because I love experiencing storylines. I love seeing the game that these developers brought to life, but I myself understand I hate spoilers. So me playing a game on stream like that, other than the first stream, very difficult to get viewership, because people will see it as a spoiler. That's why there has to be some multiplayer element to keep the game going. There has to be something else to keep the game going. That's why I look for live service games, and that's why I look for games where I can do builds, tutorials, guides, videos, things like that. Not much story, doesn't matter, because for me, it's about what kind of content can I create with that game. Darktide was perfect in that sense, because there ain't no story. Who the hell cares about the story? The only story we got so far is that Explicator Zola decided that the Karnak twins need to die, and she has gone rogue, so Rannick says, go and get Zola back, and then isolate her in some ward while, you know, we decide her fate. That's literally all we got for story. So I'd rather focus on the builds, the content, the gameplay, all good, you know? That's what I like. But because of this, and because of how I'm going in this industry, you know, bringing the discussion back full circle, you know, I love talking about all these kind of things with you guys, you know, it's really fun. But bringing it back full circle, that's actually why I wanted to do this particular stream, and why I've also got a video coming out. Like I said, later tonight, I've got a video coming out where I'm going to ask people. I want to ask people genuinely, you know, I want to know from the people, why have they stopped playing Darktide? You know, several people, and by the way, for those that already gave reasons, I thank you so much for sharing your reasons for why you've stopped playing Darktide and why you haven't really been active on Darktide. I completely understand, you know. I completely understand. In fact, my top 3 reasons myself were, number 1, boredom. Number 2, also the fact that crafting sucks ass. And if you really want to even get a decent weapon, it can take a lot of resources. I still remember that time I played the Ogren build for the very first time, sponsored by Vic, of course. When I played it for the very first time on stream, and I had to roll everything, my god, I think it took upwards of, 40 minutes, and I had all the resources with me. It took like 40 or 50 minutes to get ready for our first game, just rolling and doing gacha. That is not a crafting system. That is a gacha system. Okay, and sure, the gacha system is not pay to win, but gacha is gacha. No matter what, it's a gacha system, and we should not be having a gacha system as a crafting system. Speaking of crafting systems, you know, because I've been taking a look at a lot of the last Epoch material in preparation for my creatorship with them, and I had a look at the crafting system for the weapons. It seems very interesting. I'll tell you that much. It's not some RNG nonsense. At least that's the way they sold it to me. It could be different when I get into the game. We will see, because I'll be playing through it and experimenting with it and experiencing it live alongside everybody else that might want to take a look at last Epoch as well. But I'll tell you one thing for sure right now, it does not seem to be a gacha system at all, and that to me is valuable, because gacha is just not on. It's just not what anybody wants to see in a game, especially not a game like Darktide. Okay? I think several players themselves have also had major gripes about the crafting system. In fact, some have cited that the crafting system is the main reason that they have left the game. Gacha is a plague. There should, like, look, if we're talking about a crafting system, to craft something does not indicate a random chance of success or failure. All right, and I attribute this to the influence of some of the partners associated with Darktide, not the creators, okay, but the actual investment partners. The system is a poor one. Going to the Armory Exchange, if I were to just randomly say, I want this Atrox Mark II tactical axe, think about it logically for a second. In universe right now, I'm calling up the phone to Brunt, right? And I say to Brunt, hey man, listen, I need you to bring me an Atrox Mark II tactical axe, all right? Can you get me one of those? And Brunt says, yeah, sure, my man. Let me just go into my bargain bin box. All right, see you later, Moist. Let me go into my bargain bin box. I'm gonna pull out an Atrox Mark II tactical axe. Here's one for you. The rating is 318. Now, if you want, now I've got others in stock, all right? But you're gonna have to keep buying random tactical axes until you get what you want. You know, because that's how we do it in this neighborhood. So that to me is what this entire system is. And logically, that makes no sense. How does this make any sense, lore-wise? Yes, there might be some minor differences in craftsmanship, even for something created in a freaking manufactorum. But let me ask any of you, I don't know how Games Workshop approved this system, because it makes no logical sense. An Emperor's Gift, okay, you're finding something random out there in the wide world. Sure, maybe its stats are a little bit weird. But if I'm ordering something, should I not be able to put in an order for an actual item that I want? That would be a crafting system. This is a gacha system. That's not a crafting system. Hence, issue. So, when you look at this, it's a problem. This is not a crafting system. Then, on top of that, you gotta go to Hadron with your randomized weapon. And Hadron says, okay, look. So, you got all this plasteel. You got all these components and everything. And I'm gonna bash these components onto your axe. And it's gonna have some totally random values. Maybe the Omnissiah says today you strike harder. Maybe the Omnissiah says today you sprint faster. Maybe the Omnissiah says, you know what, this axe likes to kill elites. It's not gonna do anything else against trash mobs, but you know what, against elites, this thing suddenly gets sharper. Brother, what the hell? Are these guys actually aware of their sciences, or are they just insane? Because based on what I'm seeing of good old Hadiron over here, this isn't science. I'm pretty sure this is madness. Okay? Do you know what Chaos God follows randomness? Oh wait, Zinj. Are we Zinj worshippers? I don't think so. Last I checked, I don't think we are. So a random crafting system makes no sense. Why do we even have one? Brian, the ability to change base stats for a price would be totally fine. That would be in line with 40k. Look, Hadron should be able to tell me, look, all right, this axe right now is like suck mode. Okay? Now, if you want this axe to be good, we can sharpen it. It's going to cost XYZ amount of plasteel because I got to put in this machine, blah, blah. You are a layperson. You're not going to understand. Look, just bring me this material. I'm going to sharpen that axe for you. I'm going to make it have damage. I'm going to make your axe penetrate armor more. That would make logical sense on a crafting system, not having a gacha system. So you could have a very exorbitant price, fine. But by the end of said crafting, I should be able to have the exact stats, blessings, perks that I want. That would be a crafting system. What we have is a gacha system. And a randomized loot system is just not the way. Dylan, you haven't looked at any vids on Warhammer? What's the game like in a nutshell? Probably I would tell you it's like Left 4 Dead. It's a horde shooter. Go in with a team of 4, kill everything, try not to get killed by the specials. There you go. That is my explanation. Brian asks, if you got the chance to have weapon customization your way, what would you do? That is a fair question. My answer to said question would be like this. Weapon customization, in my opinion, should be done in a straightforward manner. You should start with a base, right? So how it should work, follow me along with this. You go to Brunt and you say, I am looking for the template for an Atarox Mark II tactical axe. Brunt gives you a template for it, right? Then Hadron says, an axe needs to be balanced so you can have XYZ number of stats on it. Here's the maximum stat total. Pick what you want. Here's going to be your price. And the higher you want in a particular stat, the more it's going to cost to maximize that stat, irrespective of what you have in terms of your dump stats on other things. So then I would have to go out and say farm, okay, so for this particular axe to have 80 damage, I'm going to need like 5,000 plasteel. Sure. So, like, that's just an example. Please, devs, don't actually make it 5,000 plasteel. Your players are going to riot. Okay. Because that's a lot of work, FYI. So, Hadron says this. Okay, so I go out and get XYZ amount of materials. I put it into that axe, and the axe now has 80% damage. Then Hadron says, okay, so here's the remaining stats that you can allocate. And it goes like that. So, at the end of it, right, you're going to spend this mountain load of plasteel, but you're going to have the axe you want. Okay? Then after that, you can bless it twice. With any 2 blessings, you can change them at any time, right? So, or either that or maybe make blessings like an item that you can put in. So if you use a blessing on this thing, you can't have it on something else. Something like that. Like, you can allocate your blessings. That way, you have to choose which build is best for you. There's a variety of ways you can do it to limit players in the set, and not with randomized gacha. You can still give players choice and decisions, but not with randomized gacha, right? So then you've got 2 blessings. Then after that, your axe can have 2 perks that can be changed at any time. So these 2 consecrated blessings could be like purity seals or runes engraved onto the weapon that can be changed freely. The blessings may be an item that needs to be added into to the specific blessing slot on the weapon, but, you know, like there's so many ways that you could have it fit the lore of 40k while still keeping the system a crafting system rather than a gacha system. So, to me, that's the way I would make crafting if I was in charge. Basically, Hadron will give you a total stat pool after you buy the template from Brunt. So if you want the template from Brunt, you got to pay maybe 32,000 order dockets. Then you can now use this template to create your own Atrox axe, right? And then you bring this template to Hadron. So maybe like if you want to create a different one, you have to buy another template, which is fair, But you go to Hadron, you say, okay, so now I've got this template. Here's what, like, rather than a fully randomized system whereby you don't know what you're going to get, you're going to buy 10,000 axes and sell them all back until you get the one that you want. Like, come on, that's not a 40K system. It's ridiculous. Buy a template, go to Hadron, start filling the template the way you want with Hadron's help and for the specific cost. That way, at the end of it, you've got the stats you want and you've got your axe done. Blessings can be items. As you acquire these blessings, maybe by ripping them out of other Emperor's Gifts weapons or things like that, or constructing them in some, way, shape, or form, there could be a variety of ways, but once you construct that blessing item, okay, now it's in your blessing repository. You take that blessing out, you put it into your item. You can have 2 blessings per item, and items cannot have duplicate blessings, something like that, So you want to use the axe today, you better insert these blessings into the axe. Bing, bing, and you've got 2 blessings. Then the perks, maybe Hadron has to change them, but they come by way of 2 purity seals, or 2 engravings on the weapon that give it those specific properties, like it's better at killing elites, better at carapace armor. I feel that makes sense. It fits 40K lore. It is a crafting system rather than RNG system, and it should work, theoretically. Perhaps they feel that this would make it too easy for players to acquire the dream weapons, and then players would get bored. I don't know. For me, right now, I feel like the devs have these systems in place kind of on purpose to keep people playing for longer, which is never a good thing because, quite frankly, I think that has exacerbated the problems of boredom because players are just literally, they're not even seeing the detail of the map. They're not even enjoying the story behind each map. No, they're just going in, okay, let's clear this, grab as much plasteel as we can and get out. And the ordo dockets will help us make our, gamble for more weapons until we get the right one. It's like a pachinko system. I don't know. That's just not sitting right with me. It feels like the game is trying to supplement the content that it has and trying to drag it out for as long as it can, which should not be the case. Maybe I'm just a different sort of gamer. But I guess by that same token, if we look at Diablo 4, every season's the same thing. Go grind 1 to 50, then go spam nightmare dungeons, and then go get to the end game and do some weird shit along the way. Every game is going to have repetitive systems. I think that cannot be avoided. It's literally I think that is something that's going to be like a part of every game in history, Anyway, I think that repetitive systems are going to be a part of games for a long time. Maybe I am just... I don't know. I just don't see a way of any game avoiding that. To an extent, even Power World has a repetitive... I was trying to think of an example. Even Power World, to an extent, has its own repetitive system. For example, catching multiple pets, catching all these copies of pets to condense them, the randomized traits from breeding. But again, I guess that's a standard part of games like that. So every game's going to have some repetitive mechanics. It just depends on how much fun they put into those repetitive mechanics. Darktide's core gameplay loop is fun, but we just can't be doing the same thing over and over forever, I'm glad you like my weapon system idea. I'm always hoping that, more can be done to make this game fun. True. Well, Power World does give us the option to remove that, which I think is awesome. Like for now, we are in a state where, like, of course we played the game as is, but technically, theoretically, and I might do this for the dedicated server. I was talking about it with Kaz earlier, and I might just make it so that when we play Power World, we are just gonna completely remove everything completely. Just like go in there, and just make it like we could have a super crazy server. So that is all, you know, possible. But yeah, I think that there's a lot of interesting ideas there. What's up, Wawa? Thanks for sharing that input, Wawa. In terms of what Jareth says, I would say that that's also an interesting system. Um, I'm not quite sure how. Okay, so that kind of system, right? If we want to fit the lore of 40K, I feel like it would have to be something more like a mastery system. You know, I think that locking blessings behind achievements would be a major turnoff for players. Penances, as it is, are something that players feel forced to do. So I think that like based on my honest thoughts, that would probably be a major negative. But I do like the idea of potentially, like, for example, a base weapon could have XYZ stats, right? And maybe at a particular level, the weapon is maxed out for like what it offers, right? So, like you said, 350 could be a stat total for a level 30 weapon, and then after that, you've got a mastery system where the more you use the weapon, your character gets better. Now that would make more sense lore-wise. So if your character gets better with the weapon, maybe they can do more with the weapon, or they can adjust their stats in some way, or make it do something different. That's also another idea for the crafting system that I'm not totally against. I think that kind of system would be pretty cool, a mastery type system. Not the achievements though. I think that blessings should, in my personal opinion, blessings should be locked behind. Plain and simple, it should be 40K style. Blessings should be locked behind your dockets and plasteel. You need to achieve a certain amount of country, or you could have blessings as a kind of like, if we're going down a mastery system type idea, why not have it as reputation? To truly get a blessed weapon, you might need to get a certain amount of reputation. Now, here I'm not going to say different factions like in Rogue Trader where there's, you know, Omnissiah, whatever. No. Here it would just be one faction, just your trust level with the Inquisition, so to speak. Like, and I'm not talking about player level, but like, let's say there's a separate kind of like reputation kind of dealio, and if you're trusted enough, you know, at a certain level, you can unlock tier 1 blessings. Then if you're trusted at a certain level, by completing enough missions, you unlock tier 2 blessings. You know, if you complete a certain amount of damnation, you unlock tier 3 blessings. This can also give a different kind of progression to the game, you know, and not lock blessings behind RNG. So while I would be against an achievement-based system, I think something that is progressive that everybody can acquire, especially for a core gameplay mechanic, is important. Achievements for cosmetics is fine. That is a well-known system for most games, but I would never use achievements for a like core gameplay mechanic, you know? So 50 enemies in a certain time may not be a good situation, because what if you got a Purg Psyker or a Smite Psyker that absolutely shreds the Horde before you do your kills? It's going to lead to more fights. So I am very against those types of systems. But if it's a progressive system that, you know, everybody can gain over access to over time by playing the game and becoming accomplished at the game, you know, then I'd be fine with that. So for example, we could have a system like I just mentioned, you know, actually thinking about it, that's a really good system. Up to Malice, you can acquire tier 1 blessings. So you complete your 50 games of Malice, or whatever number of games of Malice, you start to unlock the blessings in Malice. To gain more trust, you got to do Heresy and Damnation missions. You can unlock your tier 2s. Then for your tier 3s, you know, you gotta start doing your damnations with conditions. You know, something like that. And then finally, to get your tier 4s, you have to do Oryx, you know. What you're talking about would technically work better in a single player, yeah. But also, even in those games, right, usually the core gameplay mechanics, if something is core to gameplay, like it's literally a centerpiece of the game, I think usually they don't lock those behind achievements, because achievements are usually a kind of like extra. Now, of course, secret weapons and stuff, not core gameplay, but optional cool stuff, definitely behind achievements, you know, but core gameplay stuff, probably not. But that is not to say, you know, that they could not introduce, for example, they could introduce like a tier 5 blessing, or you could have kind of like with Destiny 2, you know, and I hate to bring up Destiny 2 because I hate it so much, but they could introduce like an exotic. So everybody's loadout can have one exotic. Again, hate bringing up Destiny 2, but it's not a bad system, right? Imagine if we had something like that in Darktide. So it would bring so much more build variety, and also it would bring some very interesting ideas to the table. So let's say you can get exotics by doing maelstroms, right? And you accomplish a certain number of maelstroms, you get enough reputation to get your hands on one exotic, and you keep doing maelstroms over time. And this would encourage players to get good to do those maelstroms so that they could get their hands on the exotic that they want, and then you could have some pretty insane builds going around. Like, for example, you could have an exotic revolver, like the Sunshot, where if you hit the head of the target, they detonate, you know? Grab a grandfather drop, lol. Yeah, well, why not? Why not? Why not have a unique weapon just like in Diablo 4? You could only have one unique weapon, one exotic, right? So you could either have an exotic melee or an exotic range, but hey, you know? And one exotic curio is something like that. That'd be pretty cool. Yeah. Game desperately does need more content, Daniel. Definitely. That's exactly what this whole session today is about. You know, the player count has fallen off the face of the planet. All right? You just anybody take a quick look. How many players are playing right now? 4,700. That's all we got. That's all we got. And if we're looking at just a month ago, January 14th, 12,000. And right now, you know, in fact, if we were to go time by time, on January 14th at this same time, 10,000 people were playing. 10,500 people were playing. And here, 4,700. You kidding me? Actually, it's only been about a month. You know, well, I mean, I guess, okay, you know what? We can call it close to 2 months right now. It is kind of crazy, and it's very stupid, you know? Oh, absolutely, Jareth. No, I have nothing wrong with, I see nothing wrong with that. But I feel that because the video game industry is so competitive, right? I think that there's also something like, how should I say this? What you got to understand is that for us as content creators, and maybe developers don't feel the same way I do about this, you know, it's actually a very good point. It gives me room to talk about something else that I think is really important. A lot of developers underestimate how big an influence content creators are. Content creators are huge for games, because if the content creators are not playing the games, people are not going to be enjoying the games. If the content is not going out there, and once the content dries up, interest dries up. And the content dries up, it becomes a vicious cycle, because the content dries up because there's no updates. So if you keep updating your game, October, November, December was so good for me because the game kept getting update. There were just continuous updates of the game. You know, there were balancing changes, but each update gave me, you know, such a different way of phrasing certain builds, things like that. It gave me opportunities. But when you don't do an update for a long time, and yes, I understand that they're all on holiday and stuff, but when you don't do an update for a long time, people will lose interest. And once they lose interest, it's very hard to get it back. Because people are already off playing other stuff. They're already doing other stuff, like playing Power World. They're playing, like for me, I'm going to be playing Lost Epoch, Helldivers 2 tomorrow. You know, it's like that. So, yeah. It's definitely a little weird, but it is how it is. Should there be a team comp assist builder in the queue section? Uh, I would say something like that would be interesting, Wawa, but it might force people into roles which people don't already like. So it might work if we had a bigger player base, but I think in its current state of the game, eh, either you're prepared or you're not. I don't know, Daniel. I don't know what they promised. They don't have a roadmap. And yeah, I'm a creator for Last Epoch right now, so I'm really looking forward to it. Because after the flop of Diablo 4, I'm hoping Last Epoch will do well for me. We'll see. Helldivers 2, I don't know. It should be, because quite frankly, I've got it on my Steam right now. I preloaded it, and as of today, I can literally play the game. So I could start it up right now. So yeah. The thing about that, Sem, is that when it comes to influencers and creators, there aren't any. The official creators have all stopped, as far as I can tell. I don't remember any of the official creators still making content right now, except for me. Unless I missed somebody. I mean, it could be. I haven't really seen. I've seen a few streams from some cool people like Deep Nausea and a few others, but yeah. I haven't really seen any of the official ones. Unofficial ones are still trying, but with a shrinking player base, what they're doing with the unofficial guys, Sam, in case you haven't noticed, right, they're buying their viewership, and it's very obvious right now. Let me give you guys an example. Do you know that Asmon Gold, with 2.6, is it 2.3 or 6 million subscribers, right? He posts a video 6 days ago and gets about 200,000 views on that video with a 2 million subscriber count. That's the normal type of viewership that any legit creator would get. Why? Because only a fraction of your audience is going to check out any video you post. Because different parts of your audience are going to be interested in different things. You know what I'm saying? So some of these creators, they're like, you see them, they have like 1,000 subscribers. Their video has 40,000 views. Okay, bro. Okay, bro. Do you know that right now as a YouTube partner, or even if I wasn't, you can actually just go into your video and just buy the viewership? What it does is that it makes, if you pay a certain amount of money, what YouTube will do is it will try and show your video to as many people as possible. It will use the autoplay function to try and show your video to people. They do this because they know it makes them money. And buying viewership is very common. A lot of people have the mindset that you gotta fake it until they make it. I don't believe in that. I'm a very opposite kind of guy. I just do what makes me and my family money. I got no money to spend on this because, you know, I literally have to feed my family off this, so I got no money for that. Oh, you mean with all the crashes? I don't know. I'll see you in the morning, Alberto. I haven't experienced it yet, so I can't comment on that, but one of my viewers did sponsor Helldivers 2, so I'll be looking at it tomorrow. Well, Yarkship, that whole experience is something that I've also talked about. Now, see, I've got a video coming later in the night that will also rehash this issue. That you make a good point, though. What I would say is that is actually due to the fact that the player base right now, Yarkship, is too small. What you have is that you've got the absolute elite players on one end of the spectrum who expect utter perfection, and they're also amongst the most toxic because all they know is Darktide, and they will always be here. They're going to play all day, every day, because this is all they know. Every game is going to have that hardcore player base. Look at Vermintide 2. No matter how bad or old that game gets, it will always have about 2,000 to 4,000 players who will always play Vermintide 2. It's been that way for the past 3 years. So Darktide is going to have those hardcores as well. But the problem is that you've also got the newbies. And because the new players, they haven't had teamwork situations at all throughout their Malice runs, because maybe they haven't even encountered that many players. And you've also got the unofficial creators feeding them bad information. So overall, what you have is this terrible situation where the newbies that finally get to that higher level, you know, there's no teamwork because they have never played the game the right way in the first place, because they've been watching nothing but these unofficial creators do terrible solo runs, all right? Or, they, you know, well, I shouldn't say terrible solo runs. Some of them are pretty good. But they're watching these people do solo runs and they think that that's the way to play the game, when actually it's a negative. The way this game was intended to be played was with teamwork. So you feel even more negative about it. So having seen that, it's a tough situation because you're caught between a rock and a hard place. This is what happens with a lot of games that end up like this. I was a part of a game like this for a very long time. I'm not going to name that game because I don't want anything to do with that game anymore. Many of y'all may know what that game is. BVS definitely knows what that game is. Okay, I'm still hounded by people from that game every single day, even though it's been years, you know? It's problematic when you have only the hardcores left. They're your fan base that's never going to leave you. And sometimes developers cater to those guys. But no, that's the wrong way to do things. You don't cater to the people that are still there clapping. What you need to do is you need to capture those that don't even know who you are. You need to capture the people that don't like you, you know? The game audio is already quite low, Wawa, so I'm not quite sure why my voice is getting drowned out. Is anyone else having this issue? Because I don't think so. I've already lowered the game volume quite a bit. So if anyone else is having this issue, please do let me know. But yeah, no, I think Wawa, it might be a problem on your end. Yeah, because the game volume is actually quite low already. So you might need to check your particular sound settings, because some people do have this issue, by the way. It's not it's not just you, but some people have told me that, hey, your volume's really soft. And I thought to myself, my volume is definitely not soft because I test my own recordings. If I were to, like, even if there are game announcements in the system, in the game right now, right, the background is so low that you shouldn't be able to hear it. My voice is completely, if I were to just turn it on my phone, it's completely overpowering, you know. It should be completely overpowering what you're hearing. So you might have certain sound settings, like equalization settings and things like that, that is making my voice softer compared to, like, the bass of the background, things like that. Often this is to do with your sound settings rather than my settings, because I test all my settings, guarantee. Yeah, because I tune my game sounds very low. In fact, most people have actually asked me to turn up the game sounds, but I try not to because I know how badly it affects you guys trying to hear me. So yeah. Exactly. You need to adjust your equalization settings if you want to listen to streams, because the streamer will usually have their own settings, and mine is tuned for just the average settings for everybody. Yeah. Thank you for mentioning it, though. I appreciate that. And Davey says, I'm insert latest Tide game here for 1,000 plus hours. There's a lot of players like that. I myself have played this game for thousands of hours. In fact, how many thousands of hours have I played this game? Let's check. Because I played a lot. I put a lot of hours into Darktide. I have 1,380. Yeah, the game volume is definitely lower, Sam. I know for sure, because I tested it myself. So I know that it's usually the other person's equalization settings. Whenever they say that my voice is soft, I'll tell them it's their equalization settings. But right now, yeah, I've put in 1,380 hours into this game. So there are people that have put in 2,000 hours. Now, those guys are crazy. But they're the hardcores that the game is going to be catering for. And those people will love this game no matter what. But like I said, we cannot cater to those people. What we need is to bring in the people that aren't interested into Darktide. We need to bring them in. We need to bring them in so that they enjoy Darktide, you know? And right now, we're not doing that. Because, number one, as soon as they come in, one of the biggest, like I said, one of the biggest things that newbies mentioned to me is that, this is the crafting system? This crafting system sucks. It's a gotcha system. And for the longest time, I tried to defend Darktide and say, look, it's getting better, you know, yeah, it's like this, but part of the fun is playing. And look, it's great when there is a community. But now we've barely got a community left. We got some semblance of a community, but people can't even find games in the Oceania and Asia regions, you know? Understandable, Daniel. I mean, that's okay, dude. Like, you know, I understand. You've been around me for a long time, and I thank you for watching my streams whenever you can, you know? Just buy a VTuber avatar and do reaction content. Okay, BVS, you find a VTuber to make me a big titty anime girl, okay? And I'll buy the rig and everything, and I'll become a male voiced big titty anime VTuber, okay? Just for you. Rena, oh god. Why is my mod such a troll? See you later, Daniel. Famalam, it's the restrictive build trees that stopped you? I see. Okay, that's a new one, but you know what? I'm happy to hear this. Like, how, if you don't mind elaborating a bit more, what did you feel like really restricted you? Like the fact that you had to go all in on one style. Like, what, if you don't mind sharing, what kind of character class did you play that made you feel so restricted? Hey, Kazi. Hi. And Yuri lol. Hey, Morksy, what's up? What is the Kazi doing here? Ladies and gents, if you don't know Kaz, she is my bestie. All right, she's really awesome, and she makes Power World stuff with me. So, she, you know, usually after I finish up my stream and stuff, I will go, you know, work on some Power World stuff with Kaz, and we're currently breeding a super Orzhok right now, which is kind of cool. Hey, nice job, Kaz. Congratulations on getting your Paldius, Palladius, and Necrons. Well done. Famalam says, I think before the last couple updates you can mess around with the trees more, but it seems like you need to totally commit now. So you're talking about veteran. Fair enough. I mean, if we're talking about like the veteran, right? And we're looking at the skill trees, I feel that the restriction is not really so much so that you have to commit totally to one pathway or the other, but rather it's just that one thing outshines everything else. Like, there's been some people talking about weapon swapping, but nobody really weapon swaps in the field, and most people can't even handle that. The Hellbore is the closest you're going to get to that with agile engagement because you've got the bayonet on the last gun. Most of the other builds that I have... Oh, sorry, this is the one for the Karnak twins. Most of the other builds that I have are all focused on focus target because it's so good as a debuff. And you got the rapid fire version with the Tempestus Scion, where the build is roughly the same, just that with the first node of focus target. So to that extent, yeah, it's pretty tough. It's pretty tough, and the builds are restrictive not because you know you have to go all the way one way or the other, but it's just that you know you kind of only have one efficient pathway. Well, I'm glad you enjoyed the intense fight, Cass. Flamer Zealot team, not my thing, and you know that. I feel that if they really want more variety, we need more interesting build options, Famalam. Like, it feels like because the veteran is only like it's only just this one way, right? Because the veteran is just like that, like so, we end up going down the track that gives us the best benefits and nothing else. If you were to go down a different track, for example, you may miss out on Survivalist. And Survivalist is so crucial at the upper levels that if you're that veteran that doesn't bring along Survivalist, you know what happens? Your team gets wiped out, or they all have to conserve ammo and they hate you for the rest of the game. You know? Psyker, not really, bigger gun, and I can tell you that right now. If I'm going to look at the Psyker, now, assuming that you're playing a proper Psyker, there's a lot of people that play some very improper Psykers that are total dog shit. Please do not do that. Sure, they might be good with it, but they are like one player out of the 5,000 we have remaining that could handle that. Maybe a group of 100 players could handle that, but the other 4,900 cannot, you see. So when it comes to Psyker, they don't have a lot of variation. I can show you right now on my Psyker and explain a bit about that. Psyker, two main styles. Warp Siphon which is used with a very limited number of things. And most of the other builds are empowered psionics. There's the Gunpsyker, which can go down the... Gunpsyker goes down the... Yeah, goes down the right-hand side of the tree, but only this one... Literally only this one build uses this. And that's just because Scryer's Gaze is pretty OP. So for the rest of the builds, it's all empowered psionics, empowered psionics, empowered psionics. Oh, and look, empowered psionics. Even with extra points, I think that what's going to happen, Famalam, is that you're not going to see a huge variety of builds, but rather you're going to see just more optimized builds. You know what I'm saying? So they're going to put those extra points into something else that'll give them just that slightest advantage. But I don't know if you'll see more variance in the builds. I think that to get more variance in the builds, it'd have to be something like... I feel like we need something more like, you know, like a subclass. You know, I actually like, as part of the creative team, I told people, look, the skill trees are here to replace subclasses, but you know what? Maybe we need a subclasses on top of that. I don't think drastic rearranging of the trees, but rather, here's your first tree, 30 points, right? Then maybe you get to specialize in another subclass, and within those subclasses, you got another 5 points and a mini tree within those subclasses. What do you choose within those? Like that, I feel would give us some variance. Let me bring up Last Epoch for a second, right? In Last Epoch, and I was telling Kaz about this earlier. By the way, I never thought Kaz would come into my streams. You know, she usually doesn't watch my streams because if we go into combat, she cannot handle the maggots that come out of the Nurgle blessed enemies. You know, so she's usually not here at my Darktide streams. But I'm so glad she's watching this one. But I was talking to her earlier about Last Epoch, and one of the interesting things that I found so cool about it was that if you were to play like this, like the Acolyte class, which is the Necromancer of Last Epoch, you can specialize as a Necromancer. Okay, so after you go down your character path, there's masteries, and these different masteries alter the way you play the game. So it's just, in fact, I'll probably do a better comparison if I actually go visit the Last Epoch website and go to the classes section. Now, for me, Acolyte is the way, okay? Because Acolyte is evil wizardry, and that's what I like. But yeah, just looking at the Acolyte class right now, there is Necromancer, Lich, Warlock as the 3 masteries. 2 of them have been revealed. I haven't seen the last one yet. I'm still waiting to see the last one. Hopefully there'll be a reveal teaser about that, because I'm, you know, for me, Necromancer is my jam no matter what kind of game I play. And I love the dark wizards, you know, summoning things and everything like that, so it's really cool. Like, okay, so now that I've brought it up, the Necromancer is obviously like all about corpse explosion, you know, summoning pets. They've got this really cool golem looking pet. They've got skeleton minions and things. I feel like all of that really cool, you know, along with the usual corpse explosion and stuff. Then you've got the Lich Mastery. The Lich Mastery for the Acolyte changes how things are played again, because the Lich is all about consuming the essence of the dead and then doing things like Poison Nova. It seems to be like a mix of a bone and poison type tree, which is really cool. Then you've got the Warlock class, which is coming soon. So far, the only thing is that the description says Master of the Forbidden Arts, curses, you know, things like that. So this would be like a Curse Mancer with damage over time. So maybe the Warlock is more like the Poison Nova Necromancer, which Diablo 4 didn't have. And quite frankly, it was one of the things that I was looking forward to when playing, because I love that in Diablo 2. I love the Poison Nova, or rather the poison type skill tree that the Necromancer had, and we didn't really get that in Diablo 4. You know, we got Shadow, but Shadow's not really poison, is it? You know, so hopefully they can bring back my Poison Nova Necromancer, but in Last Epoch. And yes, Vic, thank you for telling people. Don't forget to like the stream, especially if you like what we're talking about. You like the discussion that's going on. You know, I'm happy enough to not even play a single game tonight and just talk, because I think it's important that we have these conversations right now. You know. More variants can come with more items. We need more gear and skills to work off your gear. I feel that in terms of that particular point, there is potential there. There's a lot of potential there. If we had more items, like, but that might also require some rejigging of the skill trees. Right now, the skill trees are very generalistic. They're designed to work with every item, and I understand why, because they don't want to pigeonhole people into playing one item or another. But more item types, more weapon types. I feel that that kind of system would only work if there was more ways of upgrading your gear. You know, like if you could add customizations to your gear that, for example, like let's say the veteran had a way of adding a shield so that when they ADS with a particular weapon, they have a shield generator that temporarily gives them like just a very temporary, a very low level deflector shield in front. You know, something like that. They gave us 2 shovels. Well, 2 for the ogre and 2 for the veteran. And realistically, I haven't seen a single person play with those shovels because everybody went back to the power sword. So that's not, I think that's not the type of variance that we need. Rather, a more difficult game mode, I don't think so either, Imperial Armor. Because right now, the only ones that will want that are the hardcore players. So I don't think it would bring in new players. I think it's a valid thing. Of course, at some point, you know, even more difficulty would be pretty cool. But with the current player base that we have, there's people who can't even handle maelstroms or damnations with 100% success rate. How are we going to have a more difficult game mode? I don't think that that's necessary right now. Right now, we really need to bring in more players. A summoning class would be very important. There's no such thing as a summoning class in Warhammer 40k, lore-wise. But they could make one. I mean, Vermintide 2 made a necromancer. I don't think Warhammer Fantasy has necromancers, at least not that I'm aware of, because the Tomb Kings are a thing there, and they are the ones that control the undead. We should not really have a necromancer class, but they made one anyway, so whatever. So I figure that here we would have more like an engineer that builds combat servitors, something like that. A tech priest type class would probably be the ideal for that sim. That's what I'm thinking anyway. So I feel that that would be important. Well, Souls and FPS, welcome. Surprised to see you around my part of the world. But yes, I actually agree with your point. Game needs a huge economy and crafting overhaul. Crafting has been one of the issues. I talked about it earlier in the stream, and I feel that that's one of the major gripes that a lot of players are having right now. They feel limited because they don't have a crafting system, they have a gacha system. And I think more than several people, when I first posted the newbie guide way back in October, they were already griping back then about not having a proper crafting system. And a lot of them felt like and a lot of them put down the game because of that. You know, of course, to an extent, as a creator, I took the stance of, look, you want to go. But realistically speaking, their points are not invalid. And I think that that is one of the biggest things that is holding back the game right now. The fact that we don't have a proper crafting system. We have a gacha system. Hello, Yanko. What's up? Orbital Summer. Hello. Niski, what's up? Welcome. Having discussions today. But yeah, that actually does hold us back quite a lot. You know? I think you want to say you've got the potential to build a melee psyker, right? Well, yes, Imperial Armor. The hardcore vets do make the game live forever, but here's the thing. Your player base is not going to grow. And quite frankly, Imperial Armor, content creators are not going to stick around. So while, like, for me as a content creator, what I'm here to do is not to help the hardcore players here, because I'll be very frank with you. My revenue is going to come from having a lot of players in the game, not a small group of dedicated players. The small group of dedicated players are going to be playing this game no matter what. No offense intended. This game is all they know. This is their life, you know? And Jareth, that while the idea of that does sound cool, the problem is it going to be viable? Is it going to be viable at all? Some people will swear by a melee psyker, but if the melee psyker actually creates like a horrible, horrifying negative playstyle, kind of like how the really bad gun psychers create that environment for people, or the really bad smite psychers create that environment for people where they're not having a good time. An entire build could be dedicated to that, but it's still gonna piss people off. You see, ultimately, what we need for this game to really grow is for people to not be pissed off. We want the opposite of pissed off players. Therefore, I think that we should, in my personal opinion, we shouldn't be working on throwing new gear with what we have right here. No. What we need is that if we really want new gear to be impactful, then gear must in some way, by its own merits, not by changing the build of the character, but rather by its literal own merits, you know? By its own merits, like maybe it has something unique about it. This is why earlier I talked about maybe exotics, maybe unique items. Maybe this is what we need. If we had a two-handed psychic sword, right? Let's say that we bring in a similar exotic system. Then I would say, you know what? Why don't we do something like that? An exotic two-handed force sword, right? So, okay, so now you cannot use an exotic range weapon. Fine. So you can only use normal staffs. Maybe to counter that, you have a really powerful exotic staff and a really powerful exotic gun, or a few exotic guns that the psycho could use, whatever. And you have to make a choice. So if you go down a melee pathway character by using this amazing two-handed exotic sword, force sword, maybe you get to do some other stuff with it that makes you cool. Like maybe your swings are just like super cleaves or something like that. Like there's a lot that we could do there if they are willing. So if that was the case, then I'd say 100%, my dude. In that case, more weapon variances, more types of weapons, more builds, because now we have a reason to build the character around that weapon rather than just, here's a two-handed force sword, you know. There are other weapons that can compete with it, but it exists and you can stick it into your build. You can maybe make a build around it, but you'd have to sacrifice a lot of other stuff. Like, no. It needs to be actually impactful. I feel that it needs to be an impactful choice. You know what I'm saying, Jareth? Like, if the choice was something that impacted upon gameplay, like that one gear choice was something that greatly impacted your gameplay, then I would say 110%, you know? Yeah, I'm the flesh and blood robot, you know? I'm a Terminator. I got all this machinery underneath my muscles. But welcome, Robe Del Mal. And you're actually right about that, Orbital Summer. One of the biggest problems right now is that if we get more gear options, and I actually talked about this the last time that we talked about weapon variants, a lot of people mentioned that they wanted to see, you know, they actually wanted to see more weapon types in the game, like entirely new weapon types. I said that, do you know that with the current crafting system, you introduce new weapon types, the only ones that are going to play around with them are the hardcore players who have an abundance of resources. The new players, they're still going to be farming and getting frustrated with the system because they're not going to be able to get what they want. Different game modes, Famalam, are something I am down for, because a harder difficulty is not really necessary. Rather, we need more types of entertainment. So something like a different game mode would actually be good. No problem, Yakolev. I take my pride in being the best for the community. And of course, an official partner as well. So I'm glad you enjoy my content. Today's our discussion day. We're just talking here and chilling out. I plan on playing, but you know what? The discussion is really fire right now, so I'm enjoying it thoroughly. That and staring into the camera with my psyker. Yeah? You know, Famalam, that's another point that I actually talked about in my video that's coming later tonight. I actually talked about it because I think it's really, really... No, I get what you're saying, Jareth. Like I said, and I'm down for it. I'm just saying that we need to have something a little on top of that. You know, it needs to be like a super impactful choice to go with the variants to get that more build variety, you know? So sure, more items is good. But I think the item choices right now are not as impactful. So I'm like, in a way, I'm trying to agree with your point, but I want to add on to it because I think by itself that point is not good enough. We need to add more. And what I'm saying is that I feel that right now our choices are not as impactful as they should be. You know? But coming back to Famalam's point, I actually agree on that. Right now, the time cost of missions is too long. A mission is 30 to 40, is between 20 to 40 minutes, actually. I shouldn't say 30 to 40. It's 20 to 40 minutes, right? And within those 20 to 40 minutes, we might even fail the mission after, say, 20 minutes of investment. It's hugely difficult, right? So when you have that kind of situation, it's tough for players to stay invested in the game because they feel like it's such a drain on them. They play 2 rounds, and for some players, and in fact, some people have actually, brought this up with me. They say, I've only got 2 hours of gaming time. If I fail 2 missions, that's half my session wasted. What do I do about that? I can't progress. And I tell them, bro, I got no solution for you. Because I play 3 hours with my crew, and when we were back when this game was going hot and we were doing rotations, like some people would get, 2 rounds with me, and that was it. It is way too long. I feel that a good game should be 10 to 20 minutes. I get what they're trying to go for, but if they're going to go for a long mission, we need way more rewards for that mission. Because every mission should be rewarding for the players. So much so that, I would say triple the plasteel amounts in the mission, right? Triple the plasteel amounts and give us multiple Emperor's Gift rewards at the end, like a big cache, a treasure chest, a freaking weapon crate. Give us something. More impactful choices are important. By the way, hey, Boop, what's up, man? Again, it comes down to impactful choices. It might sound like I'm just spitting out a buzzword at you guys right now, but I'm telling you, we need more game modes, mini game modes for people with less time. Less rewards, fair enough. Mini game modes with for people with less time, but also, what we need is Rena, you play League. Don't you even start with me, okay? This man plays League of Legends every freaking day. But yes, I feel that we need when we complete a mission, it really needs to be good if we're going to take up that much of my time. That's kind of true, Jordan. The orange that you get at the end sucks. And you only get a few resources that's not even enough to really spend on crafting. Bro, it's hard. And when you don't have good players that can guarantee success, it gets even harder. It's an uphill fight. And I feel that that's where the crafting system and the missions are good to play. People are enjoying the gameplay. But after a while, you're just doing it for the rewards, and the grind does not feel rewarding. In fact, just this morning, we had a big discussion about Pal World. And, I'm the type of person, I'm very stubborn in gaming. And I'm very thankful that my friends, despite my stubbornness, they still play with me. Because I am as stubborn as a mule when it comes to gaming. And today, right, I had to have a discussion with my fellas this morning. And you know what I thought? Said, dude, our Pal World streams are literally on the hard mode, just mining. Because our resource consumption is so high, it's boring. What we need is to up, if we just remove the grind from that. And thinking about that, I was talking earlier as well. I was going to bring this up the next time we play Pal World. But basically, what I'm gonna do going forward is for the dedicated server, I'm going to turn everything up to max. So minimum time is spent grinding and more time is spent on the fun activities. Because you know what? Niska's right. It's not fun. It's not fun. It's boring. And sure, Pal World for me is not major content. I'm going to be doing other content right now. And I'll still have a couple of sessions of Pal World here and there. But you know what? If I've only got 3 to 4 hour sessions with my boys, then in that 3 to 4 hour sessions, yeah, I'm turning all settings up to max. Dedicated server is going to be freaking max settings. Well, except for damage. Damage is going to be normalized, but most things on the server are going to be max. Eggs, 0 time. As soon as they're out, incubate straight away. The next time we play Pal World, everything max, No, Pal World is great, but in terms of, mostly the type of video content, it's not something that I would want to stream until we get the dedicated servers. Then we can go ham on that. I'll still do a couple of sessions with my boys, but mostly right now it's just a tutorial until we get the dedicated servers. If you hate beta games, that's kind of a you problem, you know? No. What do you mean maybe not max? Listen. It's always going to be max, Nisk, okay? Trust in me. Trust in me to handle this shit. But yeah, I'm going to minimize the grind. In fact, Kaz and me are going to try it on our own server tonight. And Chanel, if there's an old dude at your hospital door, don't let him in. He's a vampire, okay? Just stay chill and come and hang with the crowd. And if he comes around asking you if you're ready to go, you say no. Because I gotta support Real Asian Robot for the next 20 years. Alright, he needs my income so he can have income. Okay, you tell that old man that. Alright? Because I cannot give you permission to die until I'm a super successful YouTuber. Only then can I grant you the proper administrative permission to die. Okay? If we go by the standards of the Adeptus Administratum, okay, first you gotta file a notification that you might potentially die. Alright? And then after you know, you file that notification that you might potentially die, right? It's got to go through a vetting process to ensure that, you know, the administratum itself thinks that you are ready to die. Only then, after it's gone through a few seals and a few upper officials, are you finally granted the right to pass away, because you are a resource for the Imperium of Mankind. Therefore, you know, you cannot die yet. I need you to pay my bills, okay, bro? So get well soon, go back to work, and help me pay my bills. Thank you so much. I'm glad the nurse thinks I'm funny. It's not as easy as you think on max, definitely, Kaz. But, you know, I'm still excited to try it with you. I'm looking forward to playing on mostly max settings with my bestie tonight. It's going to be awesome. The devs got to cook, definitely, Yuri. I'm looking forward to the dedicated server. Jared says, playing off of my idea, a come in, come out version of the Chaos Waste. Yeah, that could work. That could work. But you know, I think we should have a normal version of the Chaos Waste. Absolutely. I love the Chaos Waste game mode, and I think we should have that. I think we should have that. You know, I think that if we had the Chaos Waste here, a lot of players would have a lot of fun with that, you know? But players being able to dip in and out, I think that would be cool. Like, they could vote to leave. That would be awesome. 20 to 23 minute missions definitely feel better, Mitchell. I agree with that. You know? Yeah, the game definitely only puts out a minimum viable product. Right now, they're just trying to keep it going, you know? The God Emperor will protect you, Chanel, don't you worry. Because like I said, I have not yet given you permission to die. For now. Let me watch you play? What do you mean? What do you mean? What do you mean, Niski? Tomorrow you can watch me play Helldivers 2. I heard the crashes are pretty bad, but I'm going to see that, you know, for myself tomorrow. Gaining rewards based on the amount of many maps they do. Yeah, you know what, Jared? I love that idea from you. Yep, I like that a lot. You know, a normal Chaos Waste mode and that kind of mode. Or, you know, if we could roll it into one where it just keeps going. You know what? I think I like your idea a lot better, Jared. That is pretty cool. Let you watch us play with max settings. We'll think about it, niece. We'll think about it, you know? How am I gonna flirt with Kaz with you there now? I mean, I know we know you cool and all, but there's some things I gotta say that, you know, we can't be saying in public, you know? That's why we got the public setting and then we got the private setting, all right? You know, we can't always be saying everything in public. You know, we gotta have those layers, you see? Content creators are like onions and like ogres. We've got layers, okay? She loves all my jokes, okay? She loves all my jokes. That's the number one reason we get along. Ain't that right? I know you're the only fan, so you know what privilege you have? You have the privilege, Nisk, of joining me on last Epoch as part of my personal content creation team. So the game comes out on the 21st of February. I expect you there. And you know what we're gonna do? We're gonna play different character classes, and of course, if we can get Arcane along as well, we're all gonna play different character classes, and we're all going to do videos on those character classes. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna circle jerk each other until we end up like Tim the Tatman and Dr. Disrespect, so that everybody only watches our content. And then we're gonna force everybody else out, and we're gonna slap them all with this hand. You see this hand? Some people in Ratatouille talk about the guy with this thumb. No, I have this hand. All right. And I'm going to use this hand of mine to make sure that I am the only champion. All right? Now, is the only fan with the only champion? Yeah. So I'm going to give that. All I heard was circle jerk. I'm in. Lol. You nerd. But yeah, you know, Mitchell, like coming back to what you said. I want to think. I was reading as you put it out. Its campaign theme, yeah, the campaign theme for Darktide is not really great. There isn't really much storyline, so it'd be really good if like, I would genuinely feel better if we had some kind of storyline to kind of keep us invested. You know, that'd be nice. Yeah, a generative map creation system. Huh. Could be cool. I would like that. A lot of people have asked for that, but oh well. Rena, bro. I scroll. You know, I went up to read what Mitchell was saying. You know, this man trying to contribute some good points, and I scroll back down in chat, and all I see is y'all talking about, man, Rena. Why? You know what, ladies and gents, let me introduce you to my friends. Okay, there's Rena right there, and there's Nice. These are my friends, people. I take full responsibility for them, but goddamn, what is wrong with you guys, man? You're an ideas man, Jareth. I like it. I like that. You're an ideas man, Steve. But look, Mitchell, I like your points, and I think that they are quite good. A lot of people have mentioned stuff like that, and I think that having something like that would be really nice. PvP mode. No, Jared, listen. We are breeding pals. We are breeding pals. We're breeding the type of pals, like we're breeding an Orcirc, okay? So we're not talking about breeding in that sense. No. We are good, clean people. We are wonderful individuals who only speak on good subjects. Okay? And what we're talking about strictly is the process similar to animal husbandry. We are breeding the ultimate Orcirc. Kind of like breeding a racehorse stallion. Yeah. So that should clarify things. Greywin always breeds with his pals. Okay, buddy. Okay. Now, where is the 48-hour timeout button for this fella? Oh, Lord. Oi, Chanel. You're breaking TOS here. You're getting close to that, okay? Jesus, there are things you can say and things you can't. Yes, we are indeed breeding a beastly Yormantide. One of the evening streams. Assuming that Helldivers 2 doesn't take my entire soul, then yes. One of these evenings we will finish that Yormantide. 7-year ban? Nah, it's okay. Not yet. Because I still want your viewership and your money, Greywind, of course. Maybe after you've paid enough, then I shall slap you with the thumb of death. Listen, we're just Magos Biologists in that game, okay? timed missions. The only negative that I could see with time missions, Mitchell, coming on to that topic, like just genuinely being honest, I like what you're suggesting, but I feel that timed missions would be difficult. For one simple reason. Timed missions would be a little bit wild. Because what if players, like for example, we fight demon hosts. Oh, excuse me. When we've got the full Thunderhammer crew and we're all ready, right? We fight demon hosts. So what if players want the challenge of going in and fighting, you know? So although you could pick when to run, when to fight, or if the mission has to be completed within a certain time, I feel like it would create speed running type builds, you know? Where everybody, for those types of missions, defaults to a very fast build that's just designed to like completely, you know, just like go through and just wipe out. So yeah, that might be a little bit wild. Pretty much Grey Win. I'll be waiting for all the donos, man. And Jareth, yo, what is wrong with all you people? I swear to God. Okay, I mean, if you want to do that in your private time, you know, Jesus, this is a public place. Have some decency, you humans. You filthy humans. You know, all your statements that you guys are making. Such Monkai things to say. Can you imagine adding a modifier that makes every enemy a pox burster? That entire mission will be over in seconds. Exactly. Very Monkai thing to say. All of you Guilla. Actually, you know what? I didn't know, funnily enough, right? If you say Guilla, YouTube can sometimes flag your stream for some weird reason. It's okay, apparently, if you say Monkai. But if you use the Tau word for it, Guilla, you are not allowed to say that. I don't know why. Maybe it sounds too close to gorilla or something. YouTube will actually flag you for that, so I stay away from saying that. I say Monkai. The Eldar are great at breeding. Yes, they are. Yes, they are. They bred so much that Slanesh came out. So yeah, they're great at that, aren't they? But you know, I'm not against the time missions, Mitchell. Like if they could find a way to make it work and be fair to players instead of just requiring, okay, you gotta have this build for it, I'd be down. I'd be down. So I don't think time missions are a bad thing. Just how they implement it has to be done well. Because if they implement it in one of those really messed up manners and everybody just ends up having to run speed run zealot build, then you know, it's not going to be very fun. We're not going to get a lot of variety. All you're going to get is, oh, to do this mission, you need to do this. We already have missions where there are only melee enemies, and they're pretty dang tough. So, melee-only mission on top of that? No. That'll only favor the Vermintide players, and they're going to be like, oh my god, I played like 16 bajillion hours of Vermintide, so I know every melee pattern, and that's why this sword is the best. Like, I love Vermintide players, but some of them are so annoying. Like, don't get me wrong. I love the creators. I love them. But kind of like how Darktide has its fair share of super annoying players, some of the people that have been around Vermintide for years are like literally the most annoying people I've ever had the annoyance of meeting. They'll be like, oh, so in this situation, what you really gotta do is you gotta, who's staring at this camera? Jesus Christ. I'm gonna stand in front of you now. But yes, anyway. They're like, oh my god, you know, you gotta move a dish to this spot, and then you dodge it at 0.5 seconds, and then if you hold your block for like 0.1 seconds, and you use a macro, you'll block the attack perfectly and deal damage. I'm like, homie, yo, we're on Darktide here. Like, buddy, I've got a gun. I'm gonna shoot that guy in the head, all right? So you do what you want to do. I got his plasma gun, all right? His plasma gun, I call it the Plasminator. I point it at a heretic, and the heretic disappears, all right? But bro, Nisk, for them it is that serious. They're like, oh my god, you took a melee hit? Like, bro, I could go through this entire mission without ever taking damage. Have you seen the solo video on my channel? You guys should watch my YouTube channel where I have a video where I go total solo mode and I win. Bro, the developers intended for this to be a team-based game. Like, let's freaking play the game as intended. Like, dude, if you're good, I get it. And I respect that. But, homie, you're 1% of the game. You're not the population. My job as a content creator is to ensure that the whole game's population is having a good time. Right now, the whole reason we even have this stream is because the entire game's population is not having a good time right now. They are straight up having a terrible time right now. And that's why the player numbers are falling. And I'm trying to get an answer for why. And you know what? This has been a great session because I'm getting a lot of answers from the people. A lot of people are taking the time to talk about this. And thank you guys to everybody who's contributed to the discussion. The humor, too, is fun. But honest to God, right now the game needs so much, you know? D-bombers, I am in full agreement with that right now. Yes, this is another issue that has been brought up by several players. And right now, people are just not happy because content updates for a live service game like this should be a lot faster than, oh, let's go over to Commodore's Vestitures. Let's go over here and, oh, look. Here's another Imperial Guard regiment that, other than the hardcore people, they're never going to have heard of. What is this? All right. Some kind of desert warrior? Okay, that's great. And I think the last one we had was, what, Salvar Chem Dogs or something? Yeah, Salvar Chem Dogs. So, who even knows about the Salvar Chem Dogs unless you've... Now, granted, it is a cool ass skin, but who's even heard of this? And by the way, these shoulder pads are literally from the anniversary armor, so they're the same little dingling shoulder pads that we got. But who even knows what the Salvar Chem Dogs are? To be honest, I think that, with regards to that, D-bombers, there are several games that don't subscribe to that philosophy, and I'm hoping more of them come to the forefront. So yeah, it really just depends on the game, but not all games are like that. So for example, Power World, it is technically a live service game with a roadmap, and they don't even have microtransactions, which is awesome. Greywind, that happens all the time. Live service does mean constant updates, Exactly, Mitchell. Cosmetics aren't the updates we're looking for, New monster types? Dude, people have been wanting a Space Marine boss for the longest time, and they kept saying, no Space Marines. And you know what all the hardcore lore people said? The hardcore lore people, they all said, actually, guys, we don't stand a chance against a Space Marine because a Chaos Space Marine would totally kick our asses and we would die. Okay. Chanel, that suggestion, I'm going to remove it on principle. Don't you ever bring that shit up again, or else this hand, okay? You heretic. But yeah, they say, like all the lore boys say we can't take on a Space Marine, a Chaos Space Marine. Homie, we're fighting a Plague Ogre and we literally have a Power Sword. In the Gaunt's Ghost novel series, do you know that Gaunt takes out a Chaos Space Marine, and he is, yeah, sure, he's Ibram Gaunt, but Jesus Christ, he did it with a power sword. Not that hard, Yome, what do you think about being able to use a regular bolter in the game? we do have a regular bolter. The bolter that we have is the correct bolter. If you're talking about a Space Marine bolter, we cannot even lift that. And the recoil would rip our unenhanced arms off. They literally need powered armor in order to rip that, so yeah. Gaunt's Ghost, Mitchell. Hey, my mocking voices are always perfect. I would do others, but my stream would get flagged. I actually used to do, you know the character Jimmy Vollmer from South Park? I used to do that as my mocking voice. I used to use that to mock people, but unfortunately I can no longer do that because people are so sensitive that my stream gets insta flagged. In fact, the AI bots are so sensitive that if you do Jimmy Vollmer's voice, you will get flagged. Beautiful. Well, realistically, you're right about that, Graywin. The fact is we have Ogryns. Ogryns can take out Orc Knobs, and Orc Knobs can kill Space Marines. So in terms of, like, power play here, you know, we can take out a Chaos Space Marine. The lore boys have no leg to stand on other than the fact that they're like, no. Regular guardsmen would totally get stomped because that Chaos Space Marine is so cool. And have you guys seen my miniatures? Man, I got this Thousand Suns miniature and it's so cool. And I painted him with an Egyptian schematic and I like him. Have you seen him? You see, this is what they're like. And I'm like, bro, don't get into lore with me because I will talk that shit with you, you know? Oh God, Bob Baguette, I pity you, man. You had a college roommate like that? Give him this hand for me, all right? Teach him how to work out. He sounds like he needs muscles. Am I gonna play Space Marine 2? Yes, because BVS has already said he will sponsor it for me. So absolutely, you know? And no crashes on my end, but I haven't played today. Today I've genuinely been just talking with people pause play. Yeah, I understand D-bombers. A lot of people have ditched because of the crafting system, and it's genuinely been bad. Like, honest to God, I've defended it as per my duty as a content creator for this game and an official partner and all that.
Oh, what's this? Another super kawaii girl for my study crew?
Oh, lol. That blurb Chanel. Lamau. And I saw your comment as well. But anyway, I think that when it comes to progression, crafting system, these things need serious looking at, D-bombers, because it's not keeping people playing. And dude, I've got 1,300 hours and I still think it sucks. Well, if you think the game is alive and well, Rictos, with 4,700 players, then I give you a thumbs up, man. Because it ain't alive and well in all other regions. Only NA so far in your EU are doing well. I don't know where LATAM is, but hey, I hope it's going good for you, buddy. The crafting definitely hurts, you know. Plastiles are not given enough. We don't have enough plasteel given to us from missions. And the cost is too high, for sure. Oh, Latin America. I see. Well, hang on, let me just check. Do you guys have your own region? I've never played on your region before. I'm just curious, so I'm gonna check. Asia, Auric Damnations are still pretty okay. It's the Maelstroms that we're having trouble with. Asia, Pacific South, no. Asia and Pacific Central, still okay-ish. But some of the other people have been having issues in Asia. Like the Japanese dude, nobody was on his server. So, yeah. Hopefully some of your other servers are still good. But yeah, like I said, only 4,000 players. 4,000 to 7,000. You're still going to get games, depending on your time of day. But, yeah. You know, it really does depend, to be perfectly honest. And some of the times that I've been on with Jareth, we can't even find people. Wasser, this was actually discussed a lot earlier in the stream, but I feel that it'll be like there's a lot of stuff that we could do with crafting. We could have more impactful choices for items by having exotics, uniques, things like this. All of this is potential, you know, and these are all things that we could theoretically have in the game. Then, on the other side, what I would actually want from crafting is a way to have more control over it rather than an RNG gacha system, which is no good. Mitchell, about rather than 8-man teams, we could have like raids, you know, where multiple strike teams have to join in and multiple objectives have to be complete around the map. Like this kind of thing would be really cool. It'll be an awesome game mode to bring the community together and, you know, genuinely have strong raids. I think that that'd be kind of cool. So yeah, an 8-man raid, we could have a 12-man raid, and they could gradually increase in size as they create more and more raids. That could be fun. And in terms of what you're saying, Jareth, the regular Space Marines would have to show up, you know. And but you see, the thing about that is, although Fat Shark has said they don't want Space Marines in this story, I don't care what Fat Shark wants. The fact of the matter is, our characters talk night and day about Space Marines, Adeptus Sororitas, Gene Stealers. It's clear that there's more planned for this story. I feel that what they need to do is give people a roadmap, and what they need to do is they need to stop with this whole thing. No Space Marines. No. Bring them in. We don't get to play as Space Marines. But hey, who's to say they can't be involved in storyline? Couple of Chaos Space Marines here, couple of regular Marines there. It's not like we have to have a whole chapter. Could just be one Thunderhawk. You know, I remember in Space Marine, the first Space Marine game with Captain Titus, at the very end, you know, one Thunderhawk of Blood Ravens just randomly showed up. The Blood Magpies were just there for no reason. And the Captain Titus was all like, if what I've heard about about your chapter's glory is true, then we shall be grateful to even have a few Blood Ravens with us. Yes. I mean, what, do I have to bring out the Indrik Boreal voice here, you know? We must all deep strike. Our brothers will be in space, are stationed in space, so they can deep strike. We call this tactic Steel Rain. Why not? You know what? We could have that here. We could have all of the Space Marines stationed in space to deep strike, okay, where the Chaos Space Marines are. And we will overwhelm the enemy. We will rain down upon them, and it is the enemy who shall taste death and defeat. We could have that. You know, we could have Apollo Diomedes randomly come in and for one mission, just land somewhere random just to say one line. It is the Baneblade! And then run off. And then we get a Baneblade. That'll be cool. Like, look. It's 40K. There's a lot of ways that we could do this whole thing, you know? There's a lot of mechanics we could introduce for raids. There's a lot of stuff that can be done. It's just about whether or not they want to do it, you know? Well, they weren't made from him. The Space Marine chapters, the only ones that share sorta in the Emperor's DNA are the Primarchs, his sons. And then the Space Marines are descended from the Primarch's gene seeds. So they have a small connection to the Emperor, but it's very minimal. But the Primarchs, of course, have a more direct, you know. Yeah, because they would have more in common with their specific Primarch than they would with the Emperor. So that's something else to remember. But yeah, I feel that if we have like 40k Space Marines, it wouldn't be that much of an issue. Because we could have just literally one Thunderhawk. If we just had like maybe one Thunderhawk of Space Marines just randomly, or just one small ship of Space Marines that just randomly came here, or a rogue trader that had a Space Marine around with them, why not? Why not? We can have Chaos Space Marines and another rogue trader. I mean, hell, we are literally on the ship. In case you guys did not know, Ship Mistress Brahms is a rogue trader. She's got the same hairstyle as freaking Theodora von Valancius. So why can't Why can't Shipmistress Brahms call in a favor from some random chapter master that she slept with or something? And then the chapter master will be like, okay, bro, I'll lend you some Space Marines, bro. And then the chapter master just sends in like one squad of, you know, some random Marines. Big raids like Exoprimal, sure, why not? Why not? No, no problem, Jareth, you know. I think that I understand where you're coming from, and I don't have much hope for Space Marines to show up. But hey, why not? They should, like, look, if they put everything in this game will be saved. And look, I would also like some different Chaos factions. I'm really tired of killing the Plague Boys. Let me kill the Angry Boys. And yes, Space Marine 2 is coming out later this year. Chanel, you heretic. Imagine thinking about Fulgrim. You know, pause play. If we could fight a chaos space, like, I think, now I talked about this before, not in this stream obviously, but in other situations. What I would want to see for a chaos space marine fight, honest to God, is that I feel it'd be cool if it was a tactical fight, not just go in like with the captains that we have now or with the Karnak twins. No, multi-stage fight. Like in the first stage, you gotta defend yourself against him while you take down some key installations. Later on, you gotta weaken his armor. Then finally, you kill him. That might make more sense. Well, listen, what's wrong with that, Grey Wind? All Rager mission, Corn style. I would be down for that. You know, Wasser, I'm actually against... I was against subclasses for the longest time because I felt the skill trees covered it. But in the current game environment, I think that, you know what? Maybe we do need subclasses still. Kind of like a little bit of an addition. Like, it doesn't have to be a whole skill tree, but maybe like a mini skill tree that you can have in addition to your base skill tree, you know? Something like that. It'll make some cool combinations possible. And... an escort mission, Nasty? I wouldn't be against that. I think an escort mission would be kind of cool. The class builds really lack diversity. Bro, if you're talking about playable orc character, okay, there was an idea. There was an idea a long while back, which was hilarious, and I still think that someday somebody needs to do it, okay? What we need is like a game that is a ripoff of Darktide. And the game needs to be called Dakka, okay? If we have a game called Dakka that is about 4 orcs, each orc has a different class, all right? And you can play as any one of these orcs. And you literally have to like go into missions and fight random enemies, like it could be chaos, humans, whatever. And literally just call it Dakka, with the orcs arguing with each other and just constantly talking with each other and having the kind of banter that we have now. I think everybody would abandon Darktide and go play Dakka. So I need somebody right now to approach Games Workshop and make this game called Dakka. All right. Literally, we will have one orc that's a flash git. All right. One orc that's a flash git and all he does is like shoot his weapon and stuff. Then you got one orc that's this massive mega knob in armor that replaces the Ogren, but he's so slow and he takes a while until he activates his special machinery and he can get into the fight. There's a lot of potential, which I think would be cool. You know, like you could have one guy that's like an orc freebooter that's like Captain Blood Flag. And instead of subclasses, you just buy different types of orcs. You got one orc that's a commando, you know, and he paints himself purple to avoid detection. A weird boy. Hell yeah. If you get to 100% peril on the weird boy, you don't just kill, you don't just blow up. You blow up some random orc's head instead, you know? Well, that would turn it PvP, Greywind, and I think they're testing PvP in Vermintide right now. At this rate, you know, they should bring it over to Darktide. Yeah, a Madoc that can perform some weird surgeries. Like, dude, Dakka would be way better than Darktide. Bro, I want to play as an orc. And I think that somebody right now with the money needs to go to a game studio and say, look, bro, hire Asian Robot as a creator. Let's go play Dakka. All right? And they need to make a ripoff of Darktide called Dakka, and we'll all just go play as orcs. Yes, that could be implemented. Instead of curios, they've got paint. They've got different types of paint. You know, if they use blue paint, then they're lucky. If they paint themselves like black and become goths, they have increased melee damage, you know? If they paint themselves red, they go faster. So like you could have a mega knob. No, yellow is luck, isn't it? Hold on, wait. I gotta check this. Orc color meaning. Yellow is wealth. Yellow makes you richer. Yellow makes you richer. Yes. Black is tougher. Purple is sneaky. Yeah. There you go. Oh, yellow is bigger explosions? Yeah, bigger explosions. And wealth, by the way. Sorry, and wealth. It is bigger explosions, but also wealth. That's why the bad moons and the flash kits, they wear yellow. Hey, listen, I'm not against having a freebooter show up in our game, you know? Can you imagine just playing as a random freebooter? And there are no such thing as female orcs. No, they spawn from mushrooms. There's already purple orcs. Are there? They're in the video right now. Oh no. Oh no, I'm doomed. But yes, there are no female orcs because they are mushrooms. They are literally a fungus that grew. They're a sentient fungus. You know, funnily enough, there is no white color. Orcs don't believe in the colors orange and white, I think. I'm actually looking up the I'm actually looking up the colors right now. They don't have one that's orange, which is weird. There should be a color assigned to orange. But anyway, yes. Yellow is big explosions and wealth. Blue is luck, you know? Red, speed, obviously. Purple, stealth. Black is, you know, death and aggression. No, Sam. Dakka. Dakka is the word. You removed the wrong message, Chanel. Bro. Calm down. Stop TOSing, okay? Or else I'll send you a bill for my entire stream. If you get my stream flagged, Chanel will have an invoice in there saying, this is what I earned during the stream. Please pay up, bro. Now control your speech, brother. It's YouTube. Control. Even jokes must be controlled. Darktide. That's literally what I already call this game. I know it's got to be a flag already right now. I'm going to send Chanel a bill, seriously. Like, I tell you, this stream gets flagged, I'm sending him a bill straight up. Dude, setting up a killie spot as the orcs would be hilarious. I would love that. But unfortunately, I don't think anyone's gonna make Dakka right now. But maybe someday. Maybe someday. Chanel trying to get me in trouble with the YouTube TOS, man. Don't forget, we got no freedom of speech here, mate. But yeah, I would love to. Can you imagine, like, you set up a killie spot with like your with the orcs in the team, then the flash git just goes off with his flash gun and just rips through everything. Beautiful. Greywind, wasn't there a game like that? Now, it was a tactical type game, but I think it was called, what was it? Mordheim? Mordheim, City of the Damned? Is that the one? Yeah, you have to lead a warband, right? The one with the rat ogres? Yes, 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 that was it. You could join a chaos warband and get random mutations. They do need the voice lines from the Dawn of War series. Yes, absolutely. But I also want them to have the voice lines from Dawn of War 2, especially with Captain Bloodflag and his crew. You can talk to the complaints department. That's me gun, by the way. I feel that that'd be so cool. Like just one of the orc classes in Darktide is just like a freebooter, and he's just Captain Bloodflag the whole way through. Now that would be cool. Speaking of which, imagine this. You know, I just remember now from Dawn of War 2, like a monstrosity comes and fights the orcs, right? So the monstrosity maybe kills somebody in your team, you know, and smacks them down. Then one of the other orcs goes, "That was a right proper smack, that was." That'd be beautiful. Suggest any good 40k books to read? I haven't read in years, my dude. Maybe some of the other people in chat can recommend you some of the books to read. Because honestly, my last reading of any book was a very long time ago. I do not have the free time nowadays. But there are many. There are many, I'm sure. So if anyone's got book recommendations for Mr. Chanel, please go ahead. Sorry, I just had to respond to a hater in that time as well. Oh, Lord. Greywind, look at this Greywind fella. You trying to suggest religion to my people? Don't you know what the God Emperor said about religion? You're not supposed to have it in the Imperium. And then they all worship the God Emperor, Jesus. Ah, yes, Jareth. I remember that line. Very good indeed. But didn't the war boss say something like, "You watch your mouth," or something like that? You know? After he said, "You try taking the killie spot back." Lol. But yeah, Soulstorm. Soulstorm. Yeah, I had Mordheim and it was freaking weird. That game was wild. I remember my Chaos Warband got super mutated. Got like some pretty weird mutations. But it was pretty okay. Pretty okay game. I played Chaos and I also played Skaven. Both of those were my ideal. And, you know, gotta love your little Skaven gutter runners. Eshin clan for life, bro. Forgive the yawn, it's getting late, but you know, I really gotta say, thank you guys. Today was a very good discussion day. We talked about serious issues and we also talked about a lot of other things, which I feel that, you know, sometimes as a streamer, I don't get to do enough. You know, mostly I'm focused on the game and the content itself. I don't really get a lot of time to touch base with people and just shoot the breeze sometimes. So, thank you guys for making today such a great session. Literally, the entire game is just background right now. Gutter runners are wild. The only reason I even liked gutter runners in the first place was because, you know, when I first read the lore about Skaven, I found them really interesting, and I only learned about the Skaven due to Mordheim. I actually played Mordheim before Vermintide 2, so that's where I first learned about the Skaven. So, of course, I'm earning my pay. And remember, Chanel, if you got me flagged, you're gonna be being my pay soon. Yes. Well, you know what? I enjoy what I do. Look, to me, this is one of the most fun jobs ever because I get to talk to people. I get to talk to people and interact with people on a daily basis. It's a good time. And also, in situations like this where I really get to talk to people about the issues that the games are facing, it helps me learn. To be honest, a lot of this feedback is not going to go toward the devs of Darktide, because I think they have their own plans. And if they want to talk to me about it, they can definitely talk to me anytime. I'll happily share what I know. But what I'm actually doing this for is for the other games that I'm partnered with and for the other games that I work with, because I want to prevent those devs from making similar mistakes. There's a lot of games that are coming out or have already come out that the devs have made absolutely terrible errors on. Synced, one of the big ones. It started out so good, but it died because there just wasn't anything to hook people in, you know? Then you look at Wayfinder, trash launch. We were all waiting to play. It's now got less than 200 players playing. Whoop-de freaking do. Because that's Wayfinder for you. It's so sad to see all of these games crash and burn. Warhaven shut down services. What was the other one? I think Get the Fuck Out, GTFO. That game, if I'm not wrong, right, it offered me a partnership as well. I didn't take it. It's got 1.4K players right now. I ain't working on a game with less than 10K. Darktide being the exception. Now, honest to God, there's a lot of games that have crashed and burned because they don't listen to their player base. Starship Troopers Extermination started out great. Now, not many people playing, and it's understandable. Even the triple A's. You know, let's talk about Payday 3. Payday 3, oh look, 434 players playing. Triple A game, people paid for Gold Edition, 434 players. It'll be great in 2 to 3 years, maybe. Does Fat Shark interact with the community in any meaningful way? I'm sure they do. I think they interact a lot on Reddit or on their official Discord. I'm not in those places. But the thing is that when it comes to asking for opinions, I'm sure that people other than me have given an opinion as well. But like I said, I'm one of their official partners. If they need me, they know where to find me. They can call me up anytime. But I feel that they really do need to start listening. Because if they don't, you know, it's going to go down the Blizzard path. Dude, Boog, if Blizzard makes a Darktide clone called Lichtide, I'd still play it if it was a good game. But yeah. I think that a lot of the devs just, well, not only are they stubborn, they get into really bad deals. Like Digital Extremes and Airship Syndicate, I don't know what happened there. They've separated and things are still bad for Airship Syndicate. Digital Extremes should have had more of a hand in the production process. You know, that's how I feel anyway. A lot of games right now just run really weirdly. you know. And I feel that a lot of the devs also have very like favored partners that they will go for. They have favorite partners that they like. Like when it comes to Diablo 4, Diablo 4 loves Wudijo or whatever his name is, you know, that guy. And Raxen, whatever his name is. They like these guys and they favor them over all others, which was freaking obvious, you know. But you can't really have favorite creators. All creators should be equal. Sure, I'm sure that the devs themselves will have creators that they like, creators who are supposedly better than others, bigger creators, smaller creators, medium-sized creators, whatever. But at the end of the day, what you need to look for are your most passionate creators. That's why when Diablo 4 was going good, a lot of people tuned into me. They used my builds, they loved my builds. I was doing pretty well on Diablo 4 for a time. And it died hard. You know, it died harder than Bruce Willis's movies. No, I'm kidding. Bruce Willis' movies are great. But it died so badly that I had to come back to Darktide. Thank God for the October update. You know? Most things are shit these days. I wouldn't say that. I think a lot of things are good, you know, but finding the good thing as a content, as a smaller creator like myself, and look, I would consider myself a small creator until I'm at 500,000 subscribers. Then I'll consider myself one of the big boys. But I'm nowhere near that. And honest to God, things these days are tough. For us content creators and for, you know, anybody in general, things are tough. Why? Because it's so hard to find a good game. I've tried working with a lot of these games and I've tried, you know, getting a lot of this stuff out there, but it's hard. It's genuinely difficult. It's genuinely difficult to get your stuff out there. It's genuinely difficult to work with a lot of these games. Mostly because a lot of them also don't they don't seem to really how should I say, a lot of these games, they don't seem to accept sometimes their faults and things like that. They just sort of you know, say that, okay, you know, we want it this way, you do this for us, and you know, and that's it. That's the end of the story right there. I feel that, you know, they need to start listening not only to their player base but their creators as well, and they need to also look at their competition. A lot of people don't do that, and I feel that that is a major negative. Well, it's not that it's hard to be entertaining and make the game look good and fun. When it comes to content creation, you got to look at, number one, what kind of content can you make, you know? See you later, Vic. You got to look at what kind of content that you can make. For me, I like to do builds, tutorials, guides, things like that. For Darktide, I'm able to do a lot of that. And that's what keeps the content creation game going. But outside of that, there has to also be other things you can do. Giving the example of Pal World, for instance, like, although there weren't a lot of people interested in my newbie guide series, and that's okay, I'm just breaking into new territory slowly. A lot of the videos that I'll be publishing would be like, you know, like some cool little tricks, short ones like Mamorus. I feel like those videos do better. Each game is different in what type of content people want to see in terms of videos or streams. You know, I tend to gravitate toward games where I can do builds, explain things, showcase things. Like, that is fun for me. But Diablo 4 wasn't really that type of game, because even if I was showcasing gameplay, that's something that people would have seen on stream anyway. And people were more interested in build videos, videos where like people had reached endgame and they were doing some stuff with endgame content, that kind of thing. But it was kind of tough to sort of reach endgame unless you were streaming like 20, 30 hours, 40 hours per day. And you know what? There were streamers doing that. I think Wudijo did like, what, 17-hour streams? Like, bro, I'm a normal human being with a family. I can't do that. You know? So that kind of grind was insane. And I feel that when your content revolves around that kind of grind, it's no good for the average creator. The average creator investing, say, 4 to 5 hours per day, not including video filming time, should reasonably be able to create content. Darktide is actually pretty good in terms of that balance. It's just that once you run out of content, there's nothing else to do. So that's a big problem for Darktide. For last Epoch, so far what I've seen is that they do already have an end game planned, and with the number of like different types of classes and combinations that you can make. I mean, each of the 5 classes having 3 different masteries should already tell you that there's a lot of build pathways. I feel that there'll be a lot of content to experiment with and to try out, but it depends on the leveling process, how difficult it is to go through, etc., etc. How long does it take to reach end game? There's going to be a lot of work to be done. So all of that I'm going to see when the game actually drops. Not long to go, since it's on the 21st of February. Oh yeah, listen, they would do that, Famalam. But it depends on how many viewers you have. I mean, look at today. We've had a peak of what, 50 plus viewers, and roughly a concurrent of 30 to 40. But I don't think any of y'all have super chatted today, and I'm not asking for it. I'm just saying that, donations don't always come in. Money is hard to come by. People aren't going to spend on streamers consistently, So I personally try not to rely on super chats. Rather, what I try to rely on is memberships, as well as viewership. And that's why I'm so concerned normally with how many viewers or how many potential viewers I can get on a game. When I cannot get a lot of viewers on a game, for example, if my viewership's only going to be like, say the peak is going to be like 50, 60K, I'm like, nah, that's no good. That's too little for me. Sorry. If the peak is like 12, 13K, no. 40, 60K peaks, those were really good. That's why for those 3 months of Darktide, where my videos at their very peak, after everybody had gotten a chance to watch them, could reach like 30, 40K, that was really good. Brings in the revenue. But then once people lose interest and the videos start dropping to like 1 to 3K views, it's no good for anybody. That's why ultimately, as a content creator, and why I try to ask you guys these questions and learn more about you guys' preferences and what you guys do, what I want to have is a stable of 4 to 5 games that I can rotate between as they get updates and things like that, and just keep pumping out the content for those games, Look, I'm an honest man, and I will always be honest with you guys. Ultimately, I don't want to be this type of streamer that is a beggar, I want to reach the point where people, like, I've got 50, 60, 70, 200, 300, 400. I want to have thousands of people tuning in to watch me. Maybe have conversations, talk, things like that. I want to do more of that. And I want to reach that point where people are watching me for a stable of games that, I play. So, yeah, that's the point that I want to reach. Fair enough, Infrared. If that's what's chasing you away from your game, messed that up. If that is what is chasing you away from the game, then thank you for sharing your opinion. It's good to have different perspectives. I'm never gonna become an infamous crime lord, thankfully. I ain't no Jabba the Hutt. I'm just a regular guy. I have no idea what you're saying, Greywind, but okay. I think this man needs some meds. And yes, Darktide has been slipping off for like literally, months. So, you're not wrong, Famalam. I myself have been stepping away from Darktide streams because there's no money to be made. Good night, Jareth. You have a good rest. There's just no money to be made right now, Famalam. Like I said, I feed my family off this. So for the last 3 months, Darktide has been a gift and a boon. Very happy with it. But once January rolled around and not enough updates, player numbers dropped. So that's why you're having the situation, Infrared. You're seeing less players. The experienced ones aren't going to be around. The inexperienced ones have quit because of the crafting system. So you're left with either super newbies who don't know what they're doing and have never been coached before anyway, or the super toxic people anyway at the other end of the spectrum who wouldn't be in regular damnation games. So there you go. This is one of the major reasons why I think it's important. Like right now, why I'm even doing this kind of stream or even talking to people in the first place is not for Darktide's sake. You know, Darktide knows where to find me if they want the advice and they want my thoughts on what the game needs. You know, they can contact me anytime. They have my DMs are open. But what I'm here to do is actually to do this research for other games that I might work with or that I am already working with, because I like to know and understand the signs. What turns a player away from the game? What is their frustration? What's their core problem? And why are they having these core problems with games? You know, crafting system has been mentioned so many times tonight. It seems to be a big deal for everybody. The repetitive maps, the player skill level, that's another thing. And all of these seem to boil down to the fact that, you know, I think it was Jareth who said it at the start, but it's literally a major snowball effect, because what's happening is that the top players are bored, you know. Ah, listen, Chanel, don't even worry about it. When you can, man. I'm chill, honestly. Like, I appreciate it tremendously, but, like, I myself need to improve myself. I need to get better as a creator to the point that I'm never gonna, you know, I'm never gonna rely on that. Like, for me, I want to reach that point where I'm safe and secure even if nobody donates a single thing to me, and that's what I want. It's going to be a hard road to get there, but I'll try my best, you know? Yeah, the silent enemies are a big problem. Like, Darktide has a lot to fix, and these long breaks are crazy. They need to do a lot. But, you know, thank you very much for always hanging out and being a true supporter, Chanel. Unlike those that have ditched me. But I appreciate guys like you. Anyway, yeah, like, I think it was Jareth that said it, but basically there was a snowball effect. Because what had happened with this game is that all these people who were experienced left the game. They still haven't fixed the damn plasma gun bug. And that's another thing, you know? Thanks for bringing that up. They still haven't fixed it. It should be a simple fix, but like so many of these things, I don't even know what's going wrong. You know, I don't even know what's going wrong here, but there's a lot going wrong. You know, it is crazy. It's crazy and it's silly. There should not be this much going wrong. Yeah, 100%. The time investment is terrible. Hello, Kel Burton. Ahoy. What up? Yeah, no, absolutely, family. No, listen. It's a point worth reiterating. The games are a bit too long, you know? Hey, no problem. I love producing guides, you know? I love producing guides and I love talking to the community. That's the whole reason for tonight's stream. I'm talking to the community. Because I like to know things, you know? Even, like, I will always be here. I just want to assure everybody, you know, I'm not leaving Darktide or anything. I'm not going to quit tomorrow. But although I'm always going to be here to make content, I'm not going to just focus on one thing. You know, you're going to see me on a whole bunch of things. And ultimately, I'm hoping a lot of people would be willing to tune in and watch me on other things as well, like Helldivers, Last Epoch. I'm hoping so, you know. I'm going to try my best to make interesting and entertaining content for you guys. Guides, tutorials, whatever else. You know, I'm going to try my best. I don't know if I can, but I will do what I can. All right? So I hope that you guys understand that that's, you know, what I'm trying to do and what I'm trying to create with my content. So thank you to those of you who are, you know, sticking with me on that journey. I'll always be here for Darktide, but, you know, until the player numbers come back up, I'm going to be taking a bit of more of a back seat while I work on other stuff, because there's just no money. Like, you'll see a Darktide stream here, there, in between. But yeah, I'm going to take a back seat while I, you know, work on other stuff, try to get other things up and running. And once Last Epoch drops on the 21st, you know, that's going to be a major focus, I reckon. But yeah, right now, it's tough times. It's tough times. We're trying to do what we can, but it is tough times. It is tough times. But you know what? Normally my streams get what? 20, 30 nowadays. I'm kind of surprised that today, when it's a discussion stream, when I haven't done anything other than chat with you guys, we've had between 40 to 50, hanging out here, talking. It's been a good time. And it's been good to hear you guys' opinions as well on this game, on what you think needs to happen for this game. Like I said, I've got a video coming later on. If you guys wouldn't mind leaving a comment there on that video when it drops, all right. Give me your reasons for leaving the game or finding the game boring or dropping the game. I would love all that. GTA 6 streams next year when? I don't know, Famalam. Listen, if you're willing to sponsor it, or you can get the devs to drop me a sponsorship, hey, I'll be there. I will play anything that I'm sponsored to play. I'm always willing. Greywin's a tyrannid. That's okay. Listen, man, if that's what you want to do, buddy, if being a tyrannid is what your life is about, then become a tyrannid. Go tear up a few things. Go be the tear man that you think you can be. Elder Scrolls 6. Wasn't there already an Elder Scrolls 6? Or am I going crazy? I know everybody plays Skyrim, but wasn't there one Elder Scrolls after Skyrim that people played? I can't remember. I'm not a fan of that series. But I'm always willing to branch. Branching my options is a good. Give me a sec. I'm checking some work stuff. Sorry, I was some of the other creators from last Epoch were talking, and I usually, like, for these kinds of things, I will go in and if they address me, I'll just usually say a few words, talk to them. It's important to know the colleagues that you work with. So for me, that's very important. And it was like this initially for Darktide. Now Darktide Discord doesn't really have that much conversation going, unfortunately. But yeah. Oh, they're talking about assets now. Yes. I mean, I'll make covers my way, but good to have assets. They should reward you more with each demon kill in a mission. They should, because guess what? Vermintide had that system already. They should realistically have that kind of system. It would make sense. Oh, Elder Scrolls Online. Yes, you're right, Boog. I was thinking about that. So it's not... Elder Scrolls 6 not out yet? Fair enough. Yeah. A PAL Smash or Pass video? Tell you what, Yuri. You sponsor that video, I'll make that video just for you, bro. And then I'll get banned off YouTube. And then you can pay my salary for the rest of my life. Which is not going to happen, so no. Yeah, fair enough, Brian. I can completely understand that. Playing with your friends is very important. I know someone has done that. But, I mean, you know me, Nisk. It ain't my style of content. I'm not going to do no Smash or Pass video. That kind of, like, no. There's some lines I cannot cross because I got a nephew and a niece that may watch my content, and they're very young. Okay, they like my stuff, so no, there are some lines. There's some blurry, very blurry lines that I cannot cross. So if I cross those lines, no, no, very bad. You've got no friends, Greywin? Well, that makes sense. You know, kind of expected that from you. Ha! You see, I have friends now. I have Nisk, the only fan. Telling you guys, I'm telling you. Alright? So one day I'm gonna have my own streaming rogue trader empire that's gonna like conquer every single game. And therefore, it'll only be our way or no way at all. And we'll even have an event called No Way Out. Ripping off WWE. As we should. But yes, rewards, UT local bans, absolutely trash in this game. The rewards are already better in Vermintide. Like, you kill monsters, you get an additional chest. I feel like they should reward us here. If you're going to make missions take 30 to 40 minutes, multiple monstrosities, okay. Give me multiple chests. Oh, Greywind, you know. Don't worry, don't worry. You can say what you like, but I got my finger on the 24-hour timeout, alright? I'd hate to do it, but you know, if you did, I'd have to let my finger slip. I'm gonna hit that button, and I'm gonna see you in 24 hours, you know. So be very, very careful. I think we all love chests. I personally love chests very much. I think that chests are a beautiful and wonderful reward. So I think that that's important. And we should be getting them in Darktide as well. Okay? If any one of y'all had your mind in the gutter, get your mind out of there. Alright? Nah, none of that. Serious conversation today, alright? Serious only. We need to have better rewards, I think. Because Vermintide already has better rewards. Like the loot dice, giving us that, I think that that's important. At least he's not as bad as Baron's chat right now, Famalam. And Yuri, cook or cooked? Huh. No, there's an alternate way to do that, but I think it would go against TOS, so I can't say it. But I was thinking about it for a moment. As a Chinese man, I was thinking about it for a moment. I fully agree, Cows. Well, rather than level 35, I think we need subclasses to give our builds more variety, like mini skill trees with their own variety, right? That we can specialize in after the main skill tree would create so much build variety. Then, red weapons, of course, good idea. And better crafting, 110%. Crafting has been, I think, the thing that's been mentioned most this entire stream. You know? It's pretty bad. Listen, I myself don't mind the language, Famalam, but I'll tell you, the language restrictions here are pretty rough. There's a lot that can be said there, Cows, Drums. I just think that they, maybe, because they seem to be developing both games at the same time, in my honest opinion. So maybe the dev teams are just different. It's not like they're sharing the same person, and because of that, maybe there's like a bit of friendly competition, or maybe even unfriendly competition in the office to try and make things different. So maybe that's why, you know. I think that is one of the major reasons why. But, you know, I can't say for sure. All I know for a fact is that I don't know why the systems are different, but they are. And they shouldn't be, to be honest. But then again, I guess it's kind of like why Diablo 4 repeated a lot of the mistakes that Diablo 3 already repeated, and that other games, you know, they already knew about other games that had systems that overcame that, you know? Yeah. Oh, Susan no longer looks after YouTube? Fair enough, Kaz. And in terms of the Ogren having a coherency aura like that, like, look, these are the kinds of ideas that would be great if we were to talk about specializing in subclasses. Think about it for a second. You could have the Ogren, see, his base class is Skullbreaker, right? One of the subclasses could be, say, something like Bodyguard. So the Bodyguard could have factors like massively reduced coherency radius, but those within range get massive protection, things like this. Like, there's a lot of things that you could do to vary builds, and then you could adjust this to work together with their builds, with the base build, right? So with all of these different skill trees and stuff, you could create some interesting variants. Like, a Gunlugger Ogren could be a proper subclass, giving them, say, an ammo regeneration passive on certain types of kills, things like that. You know, there's like a lot that they could do and bring to the table. It's just about whether or not they want to. It's Neil Mohan since 2023. Okay, noted. And cows, I'm the same way. I'm not really a fan of fantasy. Francis says, is it just me or are servers worse lately? Frequent disconnects? No, servers are not worse, but the player base is definitely drastically dropping, Francis. If I'm perfectly frank, the servers have not been bad for me and my friends. On the few times that I have played and done streams, I barely crash, if at all. And even if I do, it's like once or twice, you know? So, yeah. Sorry, guys, important text. Like, that idea that you just had, Greywind, I would say that that's perfectly fine. Like, there's no reason why this kind of thing cannot be implemented as a subclass. Like, you could have a Psyker, like, maybe the Psyker could have a Heretic subclass, right? Or an Apostate subclass, or an Apostle subclass, whatever you want to call it, right? So they've got this subclass that does exactly... Hey, Timbo, what's up, man? Been a while since I've seen you. Hope you're doing good. The Psyker could exactly have that. Like, if they go Heretic pathway, they generate more peril with every action. Like, your actions generate 50% more peril, but deal 25% more damage, you know? They could have something like that. I'd be totally down. And they could have, like, other things in their skill tree, like, they could have they could have a faster quelling, but their quelling causes them to take toughness damage. So if they're quelling in the field, they have to regenerate their toughness better by killing or things like that. So, like, they could create so many interesting things. It doesn't always have to be positives. So, like, a Heretic Psyker could realistically, you know... Oh, well, hey, today this is the first time I've been disconnected this entire time that I've just been standing around. So, there you go. So, Francis, there you go. There's the disconnect right there. But, yeah, there's a lot of potential for stuff like that, which I think would be really interesting. You know, like, a Heretic Psyker... base perk of being a heretic is that all actions deal 25% more damage. Baseline. 5% more crit chance. But all actions that use peril generate 50% more peril. Like, a lot of people are going to use the Gunpsyker with that, you know? Because at that point, if they were to use the Gunpsyker with that, what will happen is that, you know, they don't have to worry too much about peril generation. But then their Scryer's Gaze would run out faster because the peril generation would be increased. Then, again, quelling peril costs toughness, but you quell faster or something like that. Like you could have different talents and choices that you could pick within these subclasses, and I feel that this would be pretty interesting. You know, or they could have like a special talent whereby they can, instead of 100% peril, they can go up to 150%, you know? But instead of exploding at the end, they transform into a chaos spawn and attack their team. If they reach 150% and they go over. The chaos spawn is not within their control. So it doesn't go to explosion, it goes to absolute death. You know, this is all possible. Lore-wise, the Zealot could have a subclass that's, number 1, Death Cult Assassin. Like, full-on Death Cult Assassin. So it's not just the Shroud Field that they have. They have, like, almost permanent Shroud Field cloaking, but they're limited to using only certain weapons, lighter armor, they take extra toughness damage, things like that. You know, they are revealed in certain situations. Elites and specials can spot them, but trash mobs will ignore them. Something like that. Like, there's a lot of ways they could go. Or they could go with, like, a fanatical preacher devotee. The fanatical preacher form would be, like, constantly using sermons and stuff like that to encourage. Like, everyone in their coherency aura gets encouraged and gets group buffs. But the group buffs disappear for a certain time whenever they take health damage. Or if they die, like, or if they go down, everyone receives, like, massive debuffs, things like that, to make situations more, like, they benefit higher when everybody's up, benefit lower when when they go down, things like that. You know, there's a lot that could be done there that, you know, would you know, make these classes all very interesting. An officer veteran would definitely work. Like, an officer veteran would probably have a lot more benefits for their coherency, you know. But the downside would be that, you know, if we were to talk about, like, because you can't just have power without cost, right? Maybe the downside is that the officer veteran is limited to certain weapons. They generally have to take, like, last pistols, things like this, you know, stuff like that. There is a lot of possibilities there with what could be done, you know, and I feel that all of these things would make these classes very interesting. Yeah, like, the officer veteran could not take, well, is denied the use of heavy weapons, bolter, plasma gun, things like that. They can't take that, you know. More support elements, more limited weapon choice, but they can take a power sword, you know, something like that. Then you'd have something like the heavy weapon specialist, or like an arch militant. The arch militant from Rogue Trader, you could have something like that for the veteran, whereby they gain bonuses as they swap weapons, which they already have a keystone talent node for. They gain bonuses as they swap weapons, but they're trained in all forms of weapons. They get to use more grenades. They've got access to better weapons, things like that, or their use of heavy weapons is improved. There's a lot of things they could do there. You know, this is why I think at first I was against subclasses, because we already have skill trees. But why not? You know what? The more that I think about it, that should be the next step. In fact, subclasses and skill trees must both exist. And I think that that's the idea going forward. Listen, an Adeptus Mechanicus class is something that I think everybody wants, so that should be on the table, and I hope it's coming, because believe me, we all need it. I think the Ogryn, if the Ogryn goes down a melee pathway, like an Ogryn Bonebreaker, maybe they have an intimidation aura instead as an additional bonus. So enemies in melee, like, it could apply a general debuff to enemies in melee, or enemies that are near them, that would reduce all their damage. So as long as the Ogryn is nearby, enemies prioritize the Ogryn, but deal less damage. You know? Like, instead of a taunt that's an active skill, this one is like a passive debuff, you know? Something like that. You know, there's a lot of ways. Like, I feel that that's the big element that we are missing. That variation, that capability to vary our playstyles effectively. Imperial armor, you mean by stickiness in a game, like what makes players want to stick with a game? Is that what you mean? I think that definitely, Brian, we cannot have something that you cannot change. Number one reason is because we have no way of re-rolling characters. And also, getting a character back up to 30, unless the characters all had shared inventory, shared stash, no, absolutely not. But yeah, what keeps players around, in my opinion, there are three major things for any game that keeps players around. Number one, consistent updates, you know? Consistent updates are the most important thing. Because let's face it, if players have a roadmap to follow, which Darktide does not have, and if they get consistent updates or updates at regular intervals that they know are coming, players will look forward to it, and it keeps the hype going. So when you don't know, you are more inclined to feel less hopeful about the future, since you're not playing in anticipation of what's coming next. Rather, you're just playing for the sake of playing, and it makes flaws within the game more glaring. So good games have a roadmap. Let's take a look at Pal World. Pal World is a great example. Dedicated servers aren't out, right? But we have that to look forward to, and they're also working on other stuff, more pals to be introduced. So even if you do everything in the game, you'll still keep playing with your friends here and there while waiting for the next big thing. There's hype, there's excitement, there's ideas. You know, this is important. That's still flowing. This is one major thing that keeps players around. And if you're looking at the active players chart on Steam and you're wondering, yeah, Darktide is going down, 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 down. The other thing that keeps players around is to do with new players. And Darktide is not welcoming for new players. Number one, as soon as they get a glimpse of the crafting system, they feel discouraged because they feel like their time is not respected. It's a gacha-based system, not a crafting system. That's horrible for them. They aren't going to stick around for that. And also, people's attention spans are short. People have very, very short attention spans. When you make them play a 30 to 40 minute match, getting close to that time for me to get off. When you make them play a 30 to 40 minute match with the possibility of failure and getting no rewards at the end, and even when you do succeed, the rewards don't feel super great. No. Diablo 4, to draw a comparison, Diablo 4 had a loot problem, and they were showering players in loot by the time Season 2 rolled around. And they still had a loot problem because, guess what? Players were not excited. This was something that actually was mentioned for last Epoch. Players were not excited to get the next drop in Diablo 4. Whereas in last Epoch, they're trying to go for a system whereby players will get excited by the type of loot that they receive. Like, they want to see the big numbers. They want to see their numbers going up. They want to see that improvement and that progression, you know? I think that that's important. D4 is bad. It's true. But there are many things we can learn from that, you know? I think that one of the things that many games need to take into account is excitement. If I'm playing a match and I'm getting something at the end, did you know that for the past few months, if you actually take a look at the live streams when I was playing with my friends, I didn't even look at the Emperor's Gifts. I don't care. I'm at the stage in the game where it doesn't matter. It's only going to give me more order dockets. What am I going to do with those dockets? Gamble on more hammers until I get one that's 370, 380 stats? That's not how you enjoy a game. That should not be how you enjoy a game. It's the wrong way to do things. You know? If you want to keep me playing, then I really need to see consistently. I need to look forward to the result of my match. There needs to be a reason for me to do well. You know? Not just execution rewards, but genuinely the rewards need to be cool. there needs to be something to work toward and something to feel good about getting. This is actually why I talked a lot about exotics or unique weapons in this game. Yes, we are drawing from the experience of games like Destiny 2 or even Diablo, the Diablo series, or any other ARPG. Fact of the matter is, we don't have unique weapons here. We have standardized weapons. You can buy at Brunt's Armory and roll till you get a good one. We need uniques. I feel that what would set Darktide apart from Vermintide and keep it from being Vermintide in space, which it is right now, it's in fact Vermintide in space with worse systems than Vermintide, I don't want it to end up like, look, no offense to the hardcore players who keep this game alive. No offense to them at all. But I don't want this game to end up a 3,000, 4,000 player game. I want to see Darktide grow and prosper. My initial vision was to see this game at 100,000 players. That vision looks very, very unlikely because I don't think they can keep up the momentum. And I certainly don't think that they can ever make this game exciting enough to do that. But can they at least make it a 50,000, 60,000 player game? Absolutely. If they listen. And if they do certain things to change things. We need something to set this apart. We need unique weapons. Relics. Call them relic weapons or whatever. Every character can equip only one relic, either melee or range. You can also have one relic curio out of your 3. You have to decide which one. The relic curio should have a stat that you can choose, the blessing on, the perks, whatever. Customize it your way. But the relic should have something unique, some unique defensive ability that, you use to up your gameplay. Adding Plague Marines will not bring... it'll be cool. I'm sure some players will come back, but ultimately it's not a long-term solution. It is something I want, though. Don't get me wrong. I really want to see that. But a long-term solution, we need systems to make this game exciting. Earlier in the stream, I was talking with Jareth, and I think that we need impactful choices for builds. I'm gonna be logging off soon, but let me give you an example before I do. I think it's important to say this. Let's go on the idea of unique weapons, right? Unique or interesting weapon choices. We'll use the veteran as a base, okay? What if the veteran could choose, let's say, an exotic chainsword? This chainsword basically has close to infinite cleave, right? It'll cleave through all targets, dealing damage to everything in front of you. The rev attack, it could have its own pattern, whatever. The rev attack could be strong, but you wouldn't be able to take a ranged exotic. So this would be for veterans that prefer to get stuck in or swap their weapons around or things like that, right? Okay. Then you could have a unique bolter, right? A special bolter with a faster reload and a drum magazine, right? Make it a stronger bolter or whatever, but make it have a longer draw time. So if you want to use this particular bolter, it's got a much longer draw and prep time, but your reloading is faster overall, and also the accuracy could be better. It could deal more damage, and of course have a much larger magazine for spamming down moves. This would be an example of an exotic weapon. And by creating multiple exotics for each weapon type, you could have so many different things. And the exotics could have fixed stats. So within the current environment of whatever stats, maybe this one particular exotic always comes with low penetration or whatever. It would gear exotics in different ways, therefore making gear choices more impactful. This way, if we're only allowed one exotic choice, we have to choose, do we go exotic melee? Do we go exotic range? For the Zealot, what if they had an exotic revolver that when you shoot the enemy's head, they explode, dealing damage to all those around you? You could take that, or instead you take an exotic thunderhammer, There's a lot of possibilities there. Your exotic thunderhammer, The special could be a ground pound instead. So instead of striking one particular target, the exotic would be like a big hammer down type thing. Deals AoE damage, deals more damage, but it also stuns and staggers enemies around you, but has a longer, like, you have to do a full strike down wind up and then slam. You know, something like that. There could be a lot of unique and interesting choices, which I feel would be really good. You like the joint strike team idea, but you feel like it should be a rare map spawn. That's totally fine. That could work as well. The thing is, right, there's a lot of ideas that can be implemented. And these ideas would theoretically fit lore as well, because we know that relic weapons exist. So why do, like, and sure, a random reject getting access to a relic weapon should not theoretically happen, right? But why not? Why can't we suspend a little bit of that disbelief? Why can we not do that? And then, you know, roll with that idea so that we can have more fun with it. You know, I feel that sometimes it's so wrong that they don't go down these pathways, because you can literally adjust it to fit lore. All weapons customizable would be a great thing, but I feel that it's not impactful enough. At the end of the day, you're still going to be gravitating toward a plasma gun. You're still going to be gravitating toward, like, the top tier choices. You know what I'm saying? I feel that, like I guess what I'm trying to work toward is a system whereby each weapon feels unique enough that having it with you is an impactful choice for your build, for your playstyle, you know? Like earlier when it was mentioned about the two-handed force sword, like if the two-handed force sword was a good a particular choice that made it so, okay, sure, your psyker can't take some of the unique staffs or whatever, but hey, with this particular force sword, you can dive right in and do all sorts of cool warp attacks. I think that'd be really cool, you know? And by making that particular impactful choice for your weapon, you know, you are actively deciding that, okay, today I want to go with this particular playstyle, you know? That would be cool to see, Nasty. Like, I don't think that is a bad idea. I in fact enjoy ideas like that, but the only downside that I would say, and this is just me, you know, being 100% honest, is that that's something much later down the line. Because first they'd have to introduce Gene Stealers as a faction, which would be really cool, and then they have to introduce this game mode of getting out of it, you know. I hope and pray something like that would come, because I'm sure it'll bring people back to Darktide despite the flaws, but they also need to address the core flaws that they have right now. And I feel like that is the biggest thing. They haven't addressed a lot of these core flaws, crafting being one of them. The disconnects, the bugs, the lack of a roadmap, no clear idea on updates. I feel like a lot of this needs to be addressed, you know? But ultimately, something like a three-way war, that'd be freaking cool, man. I agree with that. Anyway, I think it's getting close to the time where I should end, so today was a very interesting session. I really do want to thank you all for the support today and for, you know, talking with me, for sharing your thoughts on what we can, about the player count drop, you know, future updates, what could be in there. I really appreciate all this, because this information, as I mentioned before, just to close out the session and be very transparent with you all, this is not to help Darktide right now. Because if Darktide wants the information, they can come to me anytime, and I'll happily speak with them about it. But no, this is actually for my own knowledge, so that I can, when I work with other games, when I work on my other projects that I'm you know, called in for or whatever, I want to have all of this know-how, and I want to have this. I guess I want to have the pulse of the player base, so that I know what players are looking for, what makes them bored with the game, what makes them stick with the game, what makes them tick overall. I want all this. So thank you guys for providing that information. Thank you guys for sharing that information with me. I think it's been a really good session. And I really wasn't expecting to just chat this entire time. I thought I'll do a little bit of chatting, maybe get a couple games in, you know, talk with people during the whole time. But you know what? The discussions were so fire today that I didn't even need to play a single game. We literally spent the entire time just hanging out on the Morning Star and just talking. So thank you guys very much. I appreciate that. A video is coming out later this evening where I will ask this similar question, but it's on a video. If any of you guys would be willing to put a comment on that video to talk about your top 3 things that has made you put down Darktide, etc., or even if it's just top 2 or top 1, I'd be very grateful for those so that I know a bit more. But for now, thank you all very much, and don't worry, I'm still not leaving Darktide. I'll still be here, just, you know, a bit less content while I work on other projects and until their next big update, hopefully soon. All right, but thank you all very much, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Catch you later. And no problem, I'm glad you like my latest Zealot build. It is very fun to play. All right, see y'all on the next one.